Chapter 3287. Suo Indajwa when nodded when he heard that. After paying 1,000 heavenly law origin crystals, he entered the valley with the purple star sovereign. He had been to this canyon before and knew that although it was not small, it would definitely become crowded with the experts of the inner layer. Zhuoan also knew that the factions in the canyon would be reshuffled. For example, the Tianluo sect, Bloodrock sect, and Jade Net sect that originally existed in the canyon would definitely be wiped out by the experts of the inner layer. As Zhuoan had expected, after he entered the open space in the depths of the canyon, he immediately discovered that there were clearly many more people in the open space than before. Zhuoan also found that the empty space was clearly divided into 3 areas before, but there was no such difference now. After entering the empty space, Zhuoan asked around and found out that the Tianluo sect, Bloodrock sect, and Jade Net sect had been destroyed. The one in charge of this empty space was a foreign race called Suo Indar. Zhuoan was not unfamiliar with Suo Indar. Before leaving the inner layer, the Purple Star Sovereign had introduced him to Suo Indar. Suo Indar could be considered the strongest expert aside from the Purple Star Sovereign. Among the 7 heaven-piercing masters, he was the only intermediate heaven-piercing master. Suddenly, Zhuoan, who was strolling in the empty space, stopped in his tracks. The Purple Star Sovereign almost bumped into Zhuoan. He also stopped in his tracks and looked at Zhuoan in confusion. He asked, "Brother Zhuo, why did you suddenly stop?" "I suddenly saw an acquaintance." Zhuoan looked straight ahead as a faint smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. At the end of the street where his gaze landed, a snake-faced man with his hands behind his back walked over with an arrogant expression. Behind the snake-faced man was a group of armored soldiers. Wherever this army passed, the foreign races on the street would hurriedly make way for them. Their eyes were filled with fear, not daring to look at the snake-faced man. It was obvious that the snake-faced man had a high prestige here. Zhuoan stood in the middle of the street without dodging. He just looked at the snake-faced man in front of him. At this moment, the snake-faced man was already close to Zhuoan. He was very satisfied with the performance of the other foreign races on the street. He liked to enjoy this feeling of being high and mighty. For the first time, he felt that leaving the inner layer was such a wonderful thing. Of course, while he was floating in the air, he couldn't help but remember the young man from the devouring clan he had met on the fire path. Thinking of this, the snake-faced man's face became gloomy, but soon recovered. That young man from the devouring clan was indeed formidable. However, in his opinion, no matter how strong that young man from the devouring clan was, he wouldn't be as strong as Lord Suo Indar. Lord Suo Indar was a middle-stage connecting Heaven Lord, and he had been lucky enough to break through from half-step connecting Heaven Lord to early-stage connecting Heaven Lord. It was precisely because he had become the master of Sky Pisser that he had such a high status. After the young man from the devouring clan left the room, he would come here. At that time, he would show him Master Suo Indar's intimidation. "Since you dared to humiliate me back then, you must pay a corresponding price," the snake-faced man muttered in a low voice as he walked. "Oh, you're talking about me?" Suddenly, a chuckle came from in front of the snake-faced man. The snake-faced man didn't even look in front of him. He pointed his nose at Zhuoan and said coldly, "Who do you think you are? Don't you know I'm crossing the street? Get the hell out of here." As soon as the snake-faced man finished speaking, he was ruthlessly slapped in the face. The snake-faced man was directly slapped to the ground. The snake-faced man roared angrily. Just as he was about to turn around and get up, a large foot suddenly stepped on his face and fiercely stomped on it. The snake-faced man's eyes were filled with terror. Just now, he had used all of his strength, but he was still trampled down. Now, he couldn't even raise his head. The strength of this foot was too great, as if a huge mountain was crushing down on his head. "It seems like you haven't learned the lesson I taught you last time." The cold voice came. The snake-faced man's eyes widened. He was too familiar with this voice. It was the young man from the devouring clan. He was really unlucky for 8 lifetimes. As soon as he thought of this guy, he met him. Moreover, this guy had stomped on his head in front of so many people. He didn't have any face left. On the street, everyone gawked and dropped their jaws, looking at Zhuoan with astonishment. They couldn't figure out the identity of this young man who had suddenly appeared. However, since he could stomp the snake-faced man on the ground and the latter couldn't get up, they knew that this strange young man wasn't someone to be trifled with. Moreover, his strength was definitely above the snake-faced man's. The troops behind the snake-faced man were afraid. They didn't dare to come forward to rescue the snake-faced man. "Senior, it's my fault. I blocked your way. I hope you won't mind this lowly one's offense. Forgive this junior." The snake-faced man hurried to beg for mercy. He had seen Zhuowen's ruthlessness. He was really afraid that this young man in front of him could kill him easily. If that happened, he would die in vain. "I can spare you, but take me to see Suo Ingda," Zhuowen said indifferently. The snake-faced man was startled. He didn't expect that Zhuowen would actually want to see Suo Ingda. "Did you hear me?" Zhuowen frowned and said with some displeasure. I know. Senior, can you lift your foot so that this junior can lead the way for you?" The snake-faced man said somewhat sullenly. Zhuowen nodded and lifted his foot. The snake-faced man hurriedly stood up. Only then did he see Zhuowen clearly in front of him. At the same time, the snake-faced man also saw Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign standing beside Zhuowen. His pupils couldn't help but shrink. "Lord Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign?" The snake-faced man asked with some uncertainty. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said indifferently, "Take us to see Suo Ingda. We have something to discuss with him." The moment he saw Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, the last trace of hope in the snake-faced man's heart disappeared. Even Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign was standing beside this young man. He somewhat doubted whether Suo Ingda could deal with Zhuowen. He knew that when Suo Ingda was in the inner layer, he was defeated by Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. This Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign was truly unfathomable and very powerful. The snake-faced man didn't dare to be negligent in the slightest. He hurriedly led Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign to the center of the open space, the most luxurious pavilion. The snake-faced man's status wasn't low. When he entered the pavilion, he was basically unimpeded. This was a large conference hall with many solid wood chairs. In the conference hall, there were already 7 people sitting. At the head of the table was a middle-aged man with a dignified expression. Chapter 3288. Collapse of talks. The moment he saw the middle-aged man sitting at the head, Zhuowen knew that this middle-aged man should be Suo Ingda. Seeing how well prepared Suo Ingda and the others were, Zhuowen knew that the snake-faced man should have informed Suo Ingda in advance. The moment Zhuowen and Crepe Myrtle Star entered the hall, Suo Ingda, who was sitting at the head, stood up and greeted them with a warm smile. However, Suo Ingda directly ignored Zhuowen, who was walking in front of him, and went to the Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign behind him. He shook hands with the Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. "Brother Crepe Myrtle, you finally left the inner area. Now we are only waiting for you. Fortunately, you are here." Suo Ingda laughed. Zhuowen stood to the side and looked indifferently at Suo Ingda, who ignored him. He was not angry. He knew very well that this was Suo Ingda's idea. He was a stranger to Suo Ingda, while Crepe Myrtle Star was an expert who once defeated him. Naturally, Suo Ingda's attitude towards Crepe Myrtle Star was different from his. If it were anyone else, they would have the same attitude. However, Suo Ingda completely ignored Zhuowen. This approach was a bit excessive, but Zhuowen did not care too much. Crepe Myrtle Star smiled faintly and said, "Brother Suo is too polite. I have been in seclusion in my cave mansion, so I didn't know that the undying bird's soul at the entrance to the inner area had disappeared. Otherwise, I would have come out long ago." At this point, Crepe Myrtle Star pointed at Zhuowen and said, "Brother Suo, this is Zhuowen. He's my best friend. He's very powerful. Even I feel ashamed of my inferiority." Suo Ingda just smiled and casually cupped his hands towards Zhuowen. Then, he enthusiastically greeted Crepe Myrtle Star. In Suo Ingda's eyes, Zhuowen's aura was too weak. He only had the aura of a Genesis Lord. Therefore, he treated Crepe Myrtle Star's words as an exaggeration. Crepe Myrtle Star wanted to continue introducing Zhuowen to Suo Ingda, but Zhuowen stopped him with a look. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign had no choice but to give up and was enthusiastically led by Suo Ingdar to the second seat next to the head seat. Zhuoan just casually found an empty seat and sat beside the snake-faced man. The snake-faced man originally wanted to remind Suo Ingdar of Zhuoan's strength, but seeing Suo Ingdar greeting Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch so enthusiastically, he knew that now was not the time to remind Suo Ingdar. Otherwise, it would easily cause Suo Ingdar's displeasure. Brother Ziwei, we finally left that damned place in the inner layer and found such a good place in the outer layer. We plan to develop our forces here. In the future, when our forces are strong enough, we can join forces and see if we can force our way out of this undying bird purgatory. Now, my idea is very simple. I plan to let Brother Ziwei join my force, develop our force together, and find a way to leave this place. What do you think, Brother Ziwei? Suo Ingdar said with a smile. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said indifferently, Suo Ingdar, you mean to say that you want me to be your subordinate and listen to your orders? Suo Ingdar said with a smile, that's not it. Brother Ziwei, you are so strong, I can see it with my own eyes. I established the Canyon sect and I just became the sect master. I plan to make you the vice sect master of the Canyon sect. Of course, you don't need to listen to my orders at all. You are on equal footing with me. Oh. Since we are on equal footing, why can't I be the sect master and you be the vice sect master? Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said mockingly. Suo Ingdar was silent for a moment, his expression somewhat ugly, and said, Brother Ziwei, this Canyon sect was established by me after all. It's only right for me to be the sect master. If Brother Ziwei is not satisfied, I won't force you to join us. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign glanced at Zhuoan and said indifferently, actually, I'm not interested in joining your so-called Canyon sect. The reason I'm here is mainly to tell all of you one thing. What is it? Suo Ingdar asked subconsciously. I know how to leave the immortal bird purgatory, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the hall immediately quieted down, and then it quickly became warm. Suo Ingdar also said excitedly, Brother Ziwei, you actually know how to leave the immortal bird purgatory. You are truly our great benefactor. To actually be willing to provide us with such information, we are truly grateful. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign frowned and said, when did I say that I would provide you with such information for free? The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became somewhat gloomy. Suo Ingdar calmed down and said apologetically, Brother Ziwei, I'm really sorry. I was too excited. Tell us, what do you need to tell us the location of the passage to leave the immortal bird purgatory? Suo Ingdar was very smart. He knew that since Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign knew the passage to leave the immortal bird purgatory, he did not leave the immortal bird purgatory immediately. Instead, he came here. What I want you to do is very simple. I want you to leave the immortal bird purgatory, and you must swear that after leaving the immortal bird purgatory, you will not escape from the Phoenix people. Instead, you will cause trouble for the Phoenix people. Each of you must kill 100 Phoenix people before you can leave the Phoenix people. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving this place. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said indifferently. Instantly, the entire hall fell into a deathly silence. Suo Ingdar and the others' faces stiffened, and their expressions were very unnatural. Was Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign crazy? They were all prisoners who had been captured by the Phoenix people into the immortal bird purgatory. They knew how terrifying the Phoenix people were. After leaving the immortal bird purgatory, this guy actually planned to cause trouble for the Phoenix people. Did he really think that he was invincible? Of course, if you are not willing, I will not force you. Naturally, you will not be able to leave the immortal bird purgatory, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said with a faint smile. Suo Ingdar and the others did not speak, and the atmosphere in the entire hall became very quiet and strange. Brother Crepe Myrtle, I think you also know how powerful the Phoenix people are. If you want us to cause trouble for the Phoenix people, you are asking us to court death. I can't agree to this, Suo Ingdar said coldly. The rest of the people present also voiced their objections. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign stood up and said, in that case, we have nothing to talk about. I will spread the news in this canyon. If anyone is willing, they will naturally agree. Brother Zhuo, let's go. After saying that, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign stood up and strode towards the door. Wait. Suo Ingda stomped his right foot and blocked Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign's path. Brother Suo, have you thought it through? Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign stopped and said. Hee. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, you are too arrogant. Do you think that I, Suo Ingda, am afraid of you just because you defeated me? Today, all the experts of the inner layer are gathered here. You can defeat me, but can you defeat our joint forces? Suo Ingda sneered. After Suo Ingda finished speaking, the 6 people in the hall all stood up. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they stared at Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign. Chapter 3289. Arrangement. The snake-faced man's eyes flickered as he hesitated. He knew how powerful Zhuoan and Crepe Myrtle Star were. He doubted whether the people in the hall could really keep Crepe Myrtle Star and Zhuoan here. If you don't want to be beaten up, you'd better sit here and don't move. Just as the snake-faced man was hesitating, Zhuoan, who was sitting beside him, said in a low voice. The snake-faced man glanced at Zhuoan, his eyes full of fear. In the end, he did not have the courage to stand up. Crepe Myrtle Star stopped at the entrance of the hall and looked calmly at the people in the hall who stood up. He laughed. Crepe Myrtle Star, you're about to die. How can you still laugh? Suo Ingda could not help but mock. Hehe, I'm laughing because you're all too ridiculous. Suo Ingda, you're just a defeated opponent. The others in the hall are just a mob. Are you sure you want to stop me? Crepe Myrtle Star said disdainfully. Humph. You'll know soon enough whether we're a mob or not. Suo Ingda snorted coldly and stomped his right foot. The aura of a middle-stage Tongtian Lord exploded as he threw a punch at Crepe Myrtle Star. Slap. However, the moment Suo Ingda approached Zhuowen, he was slapped to the ground. Then, Crepe Myrtle Star stomped on his chest, suppressing him. At the same time, an extremely terrifying aura erupted from Crepe Myrtle Star's body. The moment this aura appeared in the hall, the entire hall shook violently. An unprecedented pressure crushed everyone in the hall, causing them to involuntarily kneel on the ground. Bang! The snake-faced man could not resist this terrifying pressure. The chair under his butt cracked and he sat on the ground. He trembled as he said, Tongtian Lord late stage? Among those present, only Zhuowen was as calm as still water. Moreover, he was still sitting cross-legged as he tasted the tea on the tea table to his right. Suo Ingda was stunned and did not dare to move. He looked regretful. He did not expect Crepe Myrtle Star to have advanced. Back when Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch had yet to advance, he had already been defeated by the former. Now that Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign had advanced, the gap between them had widened. He was no different from an ant. No wonder Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign did not take him seriously at all. Do you still want to stop me? Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign asked calmly. Suo Ingda hurriedly said, Brother Ziwei, it was a misunderstanding just now. We won't dare again. Do you think it's enough just to say that you don't dare? You only have 2 choices now. The first is to swear an oath to the heavenly Tao to leave the Phoenix Purgatory and come with us to wreak havoc on the Phoenix people. The second is to die. Zhuowen stood up and walked over to Crepe Myrtle Star. What? Who do you think you are? You actually forced us to cause a ruckus among the Phoenix people. Brother Crepe Myrtle hasn't said anything yet, so what are you saying? Suo Ingda looked coldly at Zhuowen and said with some disdain. Unfortunately, just as Suo Ingda finished speaking, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign sent Suo Ingda flying with a kick. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign did not show any mercy. This kick directly injured Suo Ingda, causing him to constantly cough up blood. You don't have the right to be disrespectful to Brother Zhuo. Even I have to respect him. Who do you think you are? How dare you boast shamelessly to him? Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said coldly. Suo Ingda was stunned. He finally understood that the young man standing next to Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign with a low cultivation had such a great influence on him. However, he could not understand why Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign would treat Zhuowen as an equal when his cultivation did not seem to be very high. This was too strange. Zhuoan stopped Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign and ignored Suo Ingdar, who was in a daze. Instead, he sat down at the head of the hall. I'll tell you the truth. I'm not asking you to cause a ruckus among the Phoenix people without giving you any benefit. As long as you agree, I can help all of you raise your cultivation by a small realm in a short period of time. As soon as Zhuoan said this, everyone in the hall began to breathe rapidly. They looked at Zhuoan in disbelief. But soon, a look of doubt appeared in their eyes. They wondered if Zhuoan was boasting. They were all masters of the heaven-piercing realm. At their level, other than great opportunities and heaven-defying divine pills, it was impossible for them to advance in a short period of time. They had to rely on the accumulation of years and months to have a very small chance of advancing. Now, Zhuoan actually claimed that he could help them advance in a short period of time. Wasn't this just boasting? What's in front of you now is a great opportunity. I'll tell you the truth. Brother Zhuo is a heaven-piercing alchemist. He can refine heaven-piercing divine pills. Helping you raise your cultivation is not difficult. Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign sneered. What? He's actually a heaven-piercing alchemist? Suo Ingdar blurted out in shock. The rest of the people also sucked in a breath of cold air. But soon, their gazes were filled with a blazing light. I've given you a choice. Now, you should also make your choice. Whether you want to die or advance, it's up to you. Zhuoan said indifferently. Master Zhuo, I'm willing to follow you to cause trouble for the Phoenix people. Suo Ingdar, who had been opposing, was the first to agree. Following Suo Ingdar's agreement, the rest of the people in the hall also agreed. Master Zhuo, when do you plan to refine divine pills for us? You see, I'm currently at the middle stage of the heaven-piercing realm. Do you have a way to raise me to the peak of the middle stage of the heaven-piercing realm? The atmosphere in the hall eased up. Suo Ingdar ignored the seriousness of his injuries and hurriedly stood up. He came in front of Zhuoan and asked enthusiastically, You should first swear a heavenly Tao oath. As for your cultivation, I'll naturally help you raise it. Why are you in such a hurry? Zhuoan said indifferently. Suo Ingdar immediately lost his temper and hurriedly swore a heavenly Tao oath in front of Zhuoan. The others followed suit one after another. Suo Ingdar, next, I want you to issue an order to all the foreign races in the canyon. Tell them that I, Zhuoan, am a heaven-piercing alchemist and can refine divine pills that can help their cultivation advance further. Moreover, I know the exit to the Phoenix Purgatory. If they are willing to follow me for a short period of time and cause trouble for the Phoenix people and swear a heavenly Tao oath, I, Zhuoan, will refine the corresponding divine pills for them to raise their cultivation and even let them out. Of course, we won't force those who don't agree. However, they won't be able to enjoy the benefits mentioned above. Zhuoan said indifferently. Hearing this, Suo Ingdar accepted the order and left the hall to issue the order. In Suo Ingdar's heart, a heaven-piercing alchemist was an existence that was even more respected than a late-stage heaven-piercing realm expert. He had already put away all his previous contempt and treated Zhuoan with respect and reverence. He did not dare to cross the line in the slightest. After Suo Ingdar left, Zhuoan pointed at the snake-faced man in the seat below. Master Zhuo, are you calling me? The snake-faced man asked with some uncertainty. Who else is there besides you? Get the hell over here, Zhuoan said. The snake-faced man did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly crawled in front of Zhuoan. Chapter 3290. Brewing in the following period of time, the many foreign races in the canyon of the Undying Bird Purgatory were abnormally excited. This was because they had received news that the new master of the canyon was a heaven-level alchemist who could refine heaven-level divine pills. Moreover, this mysterious new master was said to know the way to leave the Undying Bird Purgatory. This mysterious new master had spread the word that as long as they agreed to follow him to cause trouble for the Phoenix people after leaving the Undying Bird Purgatory, he would refine divine pills that could raise their cultivation and bring them out of the Undying Bird Purgatory. Once this news came out, most of the foreign races in the canyon agreed without hesitation. This kind of result was out of Zhuoan's expectations. He thought that most of the foreign races in the canyon were selfish and valued their own lives very much. They should have weighed his conditions for a long time. But now he was wrong. The foreign races in the canyon agreed too quickly. This was not Zhuowen's fault. After all, he had stayed in the undying bird purgatory for too short a time. However, these foreign races had stayed for at least 1,000 years, or even tens of thousands of years. If they were to cultivate for such a long time, it would be fine. At most, they would be a little bored. However, in the undying bird purgatory, this kind of dangerous place that was filled with endless black flames at any time, the heavenly energy was very thin. Even cultivating was very difficult. Staying in this kind of place for a few years was already torturous, let alone tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. After all, the environment in the undying bird purgatory was not a place filled with terrifying heavenly energy like the undying bird's nest. The snake-faced man's collection of medicinal ingredients was also very smooth. With Zhuowen's conditions, many of the foreign races in the canyon rushed to hand over all the medicinal ingredients on their bodies, just so that after Zhuowen refined the divine pellets, they would be able to get more. In a short 3 days, the snake-faced man had given all the medicinal ingredients he had collected to Zhuowen. What surprised Zhuowen was that the amount of medicinal ingredients he had collected was much more than he had planned. After the snake-faced man handed the medicinal ingredients to Zhuowen, he handed the corresponding name list to Zhuowen. The names of the various foreign races were clearly written on the list, and the amount of medicinal herbs they had donated was clearly listed behind each name. Zhuowen glanced at the snake-faced man. Although this guy bullied the weak and feared the strong, he was meticulous in his work. Well done, this is your reward. Zhuowen took out a divine pill and threw it to the snake-faced man. The snake-faced man subconsciously took the elixir. But the moment he saw the elixir, his pupils shrank and he almost cried out. Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill? I'm not dreaming, am I? Grandmaster Zhuo, why don't you just give me this divine pill? Don't you need anything else in exchange? The snake-faced man looked at Zhuowen nervously, afraid that Zhuowen would go back on his word. The main effect of the Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill was to help cultivators in the early stage of the Heaven Ascension Master to the middle stage of the Heaven Ascension Master. This divine pill was a divine pill that could only be found by chance in the primitive heaven realm. Moreover, this divine pill was too important to a cultivator in the early stage of the Heaven Ascension Master. Zhuowen smiled faintly and said, "It's just a Supreme Harmony Spiritual Energy Pill. If you can do what I ask you to do, you will have a chance to get even better divine pills." Hearing this, the snake-faced man was excited. He looked at Zhuowen with reverence. Now, the snake-faced man felt more and more that Zhuowen was unfathomable. At the same time, he also had a plan in his heart. If he could follow such an expert, it might be a very wise choice. Okay, you can go now. For the next period of time, I need to go into seclusion to refine pills, Zhuowen said indifferently. The snake-faced man did not dare to be negligent. He bowed to Zhuowen and slowly retreated. After the snake-faced man left, Zhuowen set up a powerful restriction around the area. A wry smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. There were nearly 10,000 alien tribes in the canyon. In other words, he had to take out at least 10,000 divine pills. Of course, most of the divine pills were not of high grade. With Zhuowen's level, he could refine them easily. However, even so, Zhuowen would need a lot of time to refine all of them. Zhuowen took a deep breath and stopped thinking about it. Instead, he took out the imperial pill furnace and planned to start refining the simple divine pills. Time passed by minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, several months had passed. Many alien tribes in the canyon were waiting anxiously. Purple Star Sovereign stood outside Zhuowen's place of seclusion. He looked a little worried. After the snake-faced man handed over the list, he also took a copy. He knew how many divine pills Zhuowen needed to refine for this seclusion. Purple Star Sovereign was a little worried that Zhuowen's body could not take so many divine pills at once. Creak. Suddenly, the door in front of him opened. Zhuowen slowly walked out of the room, looking tired. "Brother Zhuo, are you all right?" Purple Star Sovereign asked. Zhuowen shook his head and said, "I'm fine. I'm just a little tired." With that, Zhuoan took out a spirit ring and handed it to Purple Star Sovereign. Brother Purple Star Sovereign, this spirit ring contains all the divine pills I have refined during this period of time. Not a single one is missing. Help me distribute them according to the list. Before you distribute them, make sure you know who is on the list. Don't try to fish in troubled waters. I need to go back and cultivate for a while. I won't go out with you. After saying that, Zhuoan re-entered the room. In the past few months, Zhuoan had been refining divine pills day and night. His mind was almost exhausted. He was too tired. He had to have a good rest. Seeing Zhuoan re-enter the room, Purple Star Sovereign did not disturb him. Instead, he took the spirit ring and left the place. Zhuoan returned to his room and immediately fell asleep. His mental exhaustion was too terrifying. Other than sleeping, it was impossible to recover by meditating. Zhuoan slept for 10 days and 10 nights before finally waking up. When he opened the door, he found Purple Star Sovereign, Suo Ingdar, the snake-faced man, and the other experts in the canyon standing outside his door. When they saw Zhuoan open the door, they all revealed relaxed expressions. What's wrong? Why are all of you standing outside my door? Zhuoan asked in surprise. Suo Ingdar stepped forward respectfully and said, Master Zhuo, it's actually like this. We're stuck on the issue of when to leave the undying bird purgatory. We can't make up our minds. So, I've specially come to ask for your opinion. None of you have consumed the divine pills yet, right? Zhuoan asked with a frown. Yes, because we have consumed the divine pills, we have to start a period of seclusion. At that time, we are not sure when we will come out of seclusion, so we plan to first set the time to leave the undying bird purgatory before deciding to go into seclusion, Suo Ingdar said with a flattering smile. Chapter 3291. The plan. Suo Ingdar and the others hesitated for a while before agreeing with Zhuoan. They cupped their hands at Zhuoan and left one after another, intending to go into seclusion to break through. After everyone left, Zhuoan looked at Crepe Myrtle Star and said in a deep voice, Brother Crepe Myrtle, how many people can the teleportation array in the Black Heart Sea of Flames transport? Crepe Myrtle Star shook his head and said, Actually, I'm not sure how many people the teleportation array can transport because I only know about it from the inheritance of the undying bird, and the information is incomplete. Do you know the exact location? Zhuoan asked. I do know that. Brother Zhuo, are you going to explore the place yourself? Crepe Myrtle Star asked in surprise. Yes. We don't know whether the teleportation array is still there or not. I'm going there now to confirm it. And you know that if we really want to cause trouble for the Phoenix people, we can't just shout a few slogans and rush in with passion. We must have a careful plan, otherwise, the people of the undying bird purgatory are not enough, Zhuoan said in a deep voice. Crepe Myrtle Star nodded. Zhuoan was right. The Phoenix people were not simple. Back then, the reason why Zhuoan had been able to barge into the Phoenix clan so easily was because he had lured away the main powerhouses of the Phoenix clan. Otherwise, he would not have been able to break into the Phoenix people alone against the 12 fire gods led by the 2 Xuanhua guardians. Of course, now that his Pangu sacred body had advanced again, Zhuoan was not afraid of the 2 Xuanhua guardians working together. At the same time, Zhuoan was mainly afraid of the mysterious Phoenix Master of the Phoenix people. Generally speaking, the Phoenix Master was not among the Phoenix people. However, Crepe Myrtle Star had reminded him that some time ago, before he entered the undying bird purgatory, he heard that the Phoenix Master seemed to be returning. The authenticity of this news was uncertain, but it reminded Zhuoan that the Phoenix people still had the Phoenix Master, who was an even more terrifying expert. If the Phoenix Master really returned to the Phoenix people, then he would have to be careful. After all, this Phoenix Master was an expert above the Great Clan Elder and the 2 mystical flame protectors. He guessed that she was at least a late-stage Heavenly Master expert. Although Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch had also reached the late stage of Heaven Ascension Master, he had only just advanced. There was still a gap between him and a veteran like the Phoenix Master. He had no choice but to guard against this. Zhuoan was worried that something might happen, so he planned to go to the transmission array to take a look. If possible, he would first use the transmission array to leave, and after making all the preparations outside, he would teleport everyone in the undying bird purgatory away. Zhuowen told Crepe Myrtle Star his plan in full detail. After hearing this, Crepe Myrtle Star agreed with Zhuowen's plan. After the two of them made their decision, they secretly left the canyon. With their strength, it was too easy for them to leave the canyon without anyone noticing. After leaving the canyon, the two of them quickly rushed in the direction of the Black Heart Sea of Flames. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the Black Heart Sea of Flames that burned with terrifying black flames. Brother Zhuo, follow behind me. I can't sense the specific direction inside the Black Heart Sea of Flames, but I have the inheritance of the undying bird, so I can use it to sense it. As Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch spoke, he took the lead and walked in front. The moment Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch entered the Black Heart Sea of Flames, the terrifying black flames that grew endlessly in the Black Heart Sea of Flames slowly separated, forming a spacious path. Zhuowen followed Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch into the Black Heart Sea of Flames, and the surrounding black flames all made way. The two of them walked very quickly and instantly entered the center of the Black Heart Sea of Flames. After about a few hours, Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch stopped. Zhuowen also stopped. He followed Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch's gaze and looked ahead. A few hundred meters ahead, the black flames were extremely dense and terrifying. These black flames constantly swept and gathered together, forming an extremely terrifying black flame storm. Although Zhuowen had never experienced it personally, he could feel how terrifying the power of the black flame storm was. If it weren't for Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch, he wouldn't be so relaxed now. Brother Zhuo, the teleportation array should be inside this storm. Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch said as he strode forward and arrived in front of the black flame storm. With a wave of his right hand, the black flame storm dissipated. Zhuowen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The person who obtained the inheritance of the undying bird had special privileges. But soon, his attention was attracted by the pattern at the location where the dissipated storm was. This pattern was in the shape of a circle, and on the surface of the pattern, pitch-black flames burned. Zhuowen looked at this pattern and could tell that it should be a teleportation array. However, to his disappointment, the structure of this teleportation array was very simple. With his attainments in Array Dao, he could tell at a glance that this teleportation array could only teleport 2 people. This was already the limit. Moreover, this teleportation array was a one-time use. In other words, the teleportation array would disappear after he used it. Brother Zhuo, is there something wrong with this teleportation array? Seeing Zhuowen's troubled expression, Purple Star Sovereign had a bad premonition and could not help but ask. It's a big problem. This transmission array can only be used once, and it can only transport 2 people at most. Zhuowen sighed. What? What should we do then? Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said in shock. It's all right, Brother Ziwei. Have you forgotten that I'm also a divine master of divine formations? Zhuowen asked. Hearing this, Crepe Myrtle Star calmed down. Zhuowen, who was standing in front of him, was an array master. He was much more powerful than the half-baked undying bird. What was there to be worried about? Brother Ziwei, please stand guard for me. I'll modify this teleportation array. After Zhuowen finished speaking, he threw out beast bone array discs and began to modify the teleportation array. In half a day, Zhuowen modified the teleportation array and forcefully upgraded it to the Divine Master level. Moreover, the teleportation array was much larger than before. The new teleportation array could teleport hundreds of people at a time, and it could teleport hundreds of times. It was enough to teleport all the alien races in the Undying Bird's purgatory. Moreover, Zhuowen also knew the specific location of the teleportation array through the connection of this teleportation array. Generally speaking, Zhuowen wouldn't be able to determine the exact location of the teleportation. The main reason was that the immortal bird's teleportation formation was too simple. Coupled with Zhuowen's superb array Dao, he was able to determine the location of the teleportation. What made him heave a sigh of relief was that the location of the teleportation array was not within the Phoenix people. It should be a long distance away from the Phoenix people. Speaking of which, that was the Undying Bird's backup plan. It was going to teleport itself out after it possessed the host. It could not have set the teleportation array within the Phoenix people. Otherwise, it would be a trap for him. Brother Ziwei, I'll teleport out first to check on the situation. You stay here and keep the alien races in check. When I come back, we'll leave this place together and cause trouble for the Phoenix people, Zhuowen said. Brother Zhuo, be careful. The Phoenix people are not to be trifled with, Crepe Myrtle Star said. Don't worry. After Zhuowen finished speaking, he activated the teleportation array. Chapter 3292. Wu Song Conference. In an inconspicuous little hill several million kilometers away from the Phoenix tribe, a streak of white light appeared. But the white light disappeared in a flash and a figure slowly walked out from the white light. This figure was Zhuowen, who had been sent out from the undying bird purgatory. Zhuowen climbed to the top of the cliff at the edge of the valley and looked into the distance. Looking at the Phoenix people in the distance, his eyes narrowed as they flickered with a cold light. Although he did not find Mu Chunxue in the undying bird purgatory this time, at least he knew where Mu Chunxue was. This time, he had to properly cause trouble for the Phoenix people. He had to let the Phoenix people know that his, Zhuowen's, woman was not easy to touch. Moreover, he urgently needed to know where the Phoenix people's great elder and third elder had taken Mu Chunxue to. And all of this had to start with causing trouble for the Phoenix people. Of course, Zhuowen would not be that reckless. The time was not ripe yet. Just wait and see. The pain Chen Shui suffered will be repaid by your people. Zhuowen muttered to himself as he left the valley. Phoenix Blood City, after the incident with Zhuowen, had regained its peace. The only difference was that the original Bloodshed Tea House had been forcefully demolished by the experts of the Phoenix people. Now, the original location of the Bloodshed Tea House was a small restaurant that was not big or small. It was very inconspicuous. Because the news of Zhuowen entering the undying bird purgatory was known by the experts of the Phoenix people, Phoenix Blood City was not heavily guarded and was not heavily guarded. After Zhuowen changed his appearance, it was very easy for him to sneak into Phoenix Blood City. Not long after Zhuowen entered Phoenix Blood City, in front of the street, he saw a figure wearing a black robe that covered his face. That figure glanced at Zhuowen indifferently before turning into a secluded alley. Zhuowen followed him in. The figure stopped and took off the black robe, revealing an appearance that was exactly the same as Zhuowen's before he changed his appearance. You've finally come. That undying bird purgatory is really strange. After you entered, the connection between us was actually cut off. This black-robed man was Zhuowen's true body. Back then, his original body was guarding the Green Blood Tea House, controlling the formation to hold back Feng Bumming, the two guardians of Xuanhua, and a group of experts, creating an opportunity for his clone to break into the Phoenix people. After the formation of the Emerald Blood Tea House was broken, his original body slipped away in advance, keeping a low profile and concealing his tracks. However, after his clone entered the undying bird purgatory, the connection with his original body was completely cut off. It was only after his clone came out of the undying bird purgatory that he learned about his original body's situation. In addition, the original body and avatar were not far from Phoenix Blood City. In addition, the Phoenix clan had already removed the alert of Phoenix Blood City. Therefore, the avatar and the original body planned to meet up in Phoenix Blood City. Zhuowen carefully sized up his original body and found that his original body's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Creator Realm and was not far from the Creator Realm. Original body, it's about time for you to break through, Zhuowen said with a faint smile. The original body nodded and said calmly, I've already finished absorbing the heavenly blue frost Ganoderma. I can break through at any time. However, I'm a human after all. If I break through in the primitive heavenly realm, it'll be easy for my aura to leak. Therefore, I've been suppressing my cultivation and not allowing myself to break through smoothly. Hearing this, Zhuowen knew what the main body meant and said, You enter the great world first and break through your cultivation realm before talking about it again. His original body naturally did not refuse and turned into a stream of light and entered the great world. Soon, Zhuowen felt an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation coming from the great world. He knew that his original body should be in the great world undergoing a tribulation to break through. As for Zhuowen, He was not in a hurry. He found an inn in Phoenix Blood City and stayed there. In the next few days, Zhuowen inquired about a lot of information about the Phoenix people in Phoenix Blood City. He learned that the mysterious Phoenix Master of the Phoenix people had returned and was preparing for the Sorcerer Song Conference that would be held in a few months. Originally, Zhuowen was not interested in the Sorcerer Song Conference. However, when he learned that the Sorcerer Song Conference was held to obtain a place to baptize the power of the Sorcerer Ancestor in the Sorcerer Tribe, he was instantly interested. After asking around, he finally found out what the Sorcerer Song Conference was all about. It was said that the Sorcerer Tribe was the initiator of the Sorcerer Song Conference, but it was promoted by the 10 great tribes of the primitive heavenly realm. In the entire primitive heavenly realm, basically all the tribes knew that the Sorcerer Tribe had 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor. Although the Sorcerer Ancestor had fallen, his physical body was immortal and the power of the Sorcerer Ancestor would be passed on forever. The power of the Sorcerer Ancestor was extremely beneficial to all the tribes in the primitive heavenly realm. It could mutate their bloodline and increase their strength and potential greatly. The fact that the Sorcerer Tribe had 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor was undoubtedly a crime caused by their wealth, and they were attacked by many tribes. Although the Sorcerer Tribe was powerful, it was difficult to stand alone. It was impossible for them to fight against all the tribes in the primitive heavenly realm. Therefore, the Sorcerer Tribe finally compromised and sealed the space of the 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor in the Sorcerer Magical Pond. Every 100 years, the Sorcerer Song Conference would be held. All the tribes in the primitive heavenly realm were eligible to participate in the selection of the Sorcerer Ancestor. In the end, 9 people would be chosen to enter the Sorcerer Magical Pond to be baptized by the power of the Sorcerer Ancestor. Of course, there was a limit to the number of people who could participate in the Sorcerer Song Conference. They had to have a bone age of less than 10,000 years. Otherwise, if those old monsters who had cultivated for tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years also participated, there would be no need to compete at all. If it was discovered that there was a foreign tribe with a bone age of more than 10,000 years, they would be killed on the spot by the experts of the Sorcerer Tribe. The rules of the Sorcerer Song Conference were so strict that the other tribes in the primitive heavenly realm did not dare to disobey. The corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor? Zhuowen's eyes lit up. He had to participate in the Sorcerer Song Conference. His Pangu sacred body had reached a bottleneck. Although he had reached the peak of 7 stars, he needed the Sorcerer Ancestor's venomous insect to advance from 7 stars to 8 stars. Moreover, he suspected that it was much more difficult to advance his Pangu sacred body than before. He was afraid that one Sorcerer Ancestor's venomous insect might not be able to help him advance to 8 stars. However, the Sorcerer Tribe had 3 corpses of the Sorcerer Ancestor. Wasn't this made for him? He had to participate in the Sorcerer Song Conference. He asked around and found out that the Sorcerer Song Conference would officially begin in 4 months. In other words, he had to realize his plan of causing havoc in the Phoenix people within 4 months. He was confident that Suo Ingdar and the others would not go into seclusion for more than 3 months after consuming his divine elixir. He still had time. His main concern now was the Phoenix Master of the Phoenix people. She was a big variable. I have to send the Phoenix Master away in advance in 3 months. Otherwise, she will be a bad variable. Chapter 3293 The Shentian Auction House. The Shentian Auction House was a famous auction house in the Eldritch Heaven domain. All the large-scale auctions in the Eldritch Heaven domain were held in the Shentian Auction House. Moreover, the foreign races that entered the Shentian Auction House did not dare to act rashly. Even the 10 great races followed the rules when entering the Shentian Auction House. The reason why the Shentian Auction House was so prestigious was said to be because it had the support of many big clans, including the Sorcerer Tribe, behind it. It was very complicated. It was precisely because of the Shentian Auction House's strong background that the people of the 10 great races did not dare to act rashly. Moreover, the Shentian Auction House was very unyielding and did not give face to the large races at all. If anyone committed a crime in the auction house, they would be severely punished. It was because of the Shentian Auction House's business style that many large and small races, as well as some itinerant cultivators, were willing to put their good things in the auction house. This was because they knew that the Shentian auction house would not casually take their things. Otherwise, the reputation that the Shentian auction house had built up with great difficulty would be completely destroyed. Today, an uninvited guest came to the Shentian auction house. This person knocked on the appraisal counter of the auction house and attracted the attention of a young foreign race person at the counter. The young foreign race person looked at the young man in front of him with some displeasure and said coldly, "If you want to auction something, line up at the back." The business of the Shentian auction house was very good. There was already a long line in front of the appraisal counter. This person walked up to the counter and cut the line, causing the people in the line to be unhappy. There were even a few foreign races who rubbed their fists together as if this person had really cut the line and would not be polite to him. "I have something that you can't appraise. You need to get your manager here," the person said indifferently. The young foreign race person at the counter glared at the young man and said unkindly, "Are you questioning my appraisal ability? Is the thing you have on you a Tao affirmation treasure? Haha, look at how young you are. I think you haven't even reached the Tao affirmation realm yet. How dare you brag in front of me? You're overestimating yourself." The young man helplessly took out a jade bottle and handed it to the young foreign race person. "Try it. See if you can appraise the thing inside." The young man snorted coldly and took the jade bottle. He opened the cork and a refreshing medicinal fragrance wafted out. All of the foreign races in the front line had intoxicated looks on their faces. The young outsider hurriedly closed the lid and returned the jade bottle to the young man. Only then did he look at the young man in front of him with a grave expression. "Wait a moment, I'll call our supervisor." After the young foreign race finished speaking, he hurriedly entered the inner room. At this moment, all of the foreign races in the group were bewildered. Some of them were even looking at the young man with greed in their eyes. They had all smelled the medicinal fragrance just now. Although they did not know what kind of divine pill it was definitely not a low-level one. The young man turned a blind eye to the surrounding gazes and stood silently in front of the counter, waiting. Not long after, the young man came out from the inner room and respectfully opened the door on the side of the counter, inviting the young man in. "Our manager is waiting for you in the inner room. You can go in and talk to him," the young man said respectfully. The young man nodded and entered the inner room. The inner room was not big, but the decorations were extremely luxurious. In the middle of the room, a middle-aged man leaned lazily on a soft chair. When he saw the young man enter, he stood up enthusiastically and shook hands with the young man. "This humble servant is the manager of the mysterious Sky Auction House, GAO Center. This humble servant is Zhuoan," the young man said with a smile. That's right, the young man who came to the mysterious Sky Auction House was Zhuoan. The reason he dared to use his real name was mainly because the mysterious Sky Auction House was very far away from the Phoenix people. It almost crossed half of the primitive heaven domain. It took him 7 days to reach this place and travel at full speed. This was not the territory of the Phoenix people. The Phoenix people's arrest warrant for him did not affect this place at all. "So it's brother Zhua. Nice to meet you." GAO Center rubbed his hands and said enthusiastically, "Just now, my shop assistant said that you have a divine pill that even she couldn't identify. It's said to be at least a creation-grade divine pill. I wonder if brother Zhua can let me take a look and have a look." Of course. Zhuoan naturally took out the jade bottle and handed it to GAO Center. GAO Center opened the jade bottle and took out a divine pill. Suddenly, the entire room was filled with a terrifying medicinal power. If GAO Center's cultivation was not at the Grandmaster realm and forcefully suppressed the medicinal power would have spread outside. Great Mystery Creation Spirit Pill? Oh my god, am I seeing things? GAO Center abruptly stood up, holding a divine pill in his hand as he danced with excitement. "You're not seeing things. This is the Great Mystery Creation Spirit Pill. I plan to sell this divine pill to the mysterious Sky Auction House," Zhuoan said with a faint smile. GAO Center calmed down. His eyes flickered and he smiled. "Brother Zhua, how about this? The mysterious Sky Auction House will buy this divine pill. You name a price. No matter how high it is, we'll buy it. Sorry, I plan to auction this divine pill. I don't plan to sell it to your auction house, Zhuowen said with a shake of his head. Gao Center's expression flickered. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body and suppressed Zhuowen. He said in a deep voice, Brother Zhuo, selling this divine pill to our auction house can be said to be done once and for all for you. Why put it up for auction? It's so time-consuming and exhausting. I think you'd better agree. Are you threatening me? Zhuowen slowly stood up, and an even more terrifying aura erupted. Gao Center's expression changed drastically. The aura on his body was instantly suppressed, and then his chest suffered an extremely terrifying force. Poochie. Gao Center spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale, and he retreated repeatedly. He looked at the young man in front of him in surprise. He was at the initial stage of the Grandmaster realm. In the mysterious Sky Auction House, he could be said to be a powerhouse second only to the president. He was actually suppressed by this young man whose cultivation did not seem high. Supervisor Gao. I think you're a smart person. It's best if you don't play tricks. If this divine pill is auctioned well, I don't mind giving you a Supreme Harmony spiritual energy pill. Zhuowen glanced at Gao Center indifferently. He took out the Supreme Harmony spiritual energy pill, shook it in front of Gao Center's eyes, and put it away. Of course, if you violate the rules of your auction house and rob it, I don't mind killing you and then making your actions public. Do you think the people will support me or you? Zhuowen said indifferently. Gao Center trembled and completely surrendered. Although he coveted the profound creation spirit pill, the Supreme Harmony spiritual energy pill that Zhuowen took out was the most useful to him. Brother Zhuo, you must be joking. You're so young and promising. I really don't dare to play tricks in front of you, Gao Center said with a flattering smile. That'd better be the case. There are 2 bottles of profound creation spirit pills in this jade bottle. Before the auction, you must do your best to promote it. It's best to promote it to the Phoenix people. The auction will be held in 3 months, Zhuowen said. Gao Center's eyes flickered, and he quickly agreed with a smile. By the way, does your auction house auction slaves? Zhuowen asked. We're also auctioning off slaves. Brother Zhuo, do you want to buy slaves? Gao Center asked. This female slave will be auctioned together with the divine pill in 3 months. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and threw out the saintess of the Phoenix people. She is. Gao Center was puzzled. The saintess of the Phoenix people, Zhuowen said indifferently. Chapter 3294. Alarmed. Gao Center stared blankly at the Phoenix people's saintess, who was lying on the ground, completely powerless. Brother Zhuo, is this really the Phoenix people's saintess? I remember that the Phoenix people were captured by a human on the Star Wars battlefield. How did she end up in your hands? Gao Center asked, puzzled. I killed that human and found the Phoenix people's saintess. However, the Phoenix people's saintess is of no use to me, so I plan to auction her off and see if I can earn a good price, Zhuowen said calmly. At that moment, the Phoenix people were lying on the ground. Naturally, she had heard the conversation between Zhuowen and Gao Center. When she heard that Zhuowen was going to auction her off, her beautiful eyes widened as she glared at Zhuowen. She wanted to speak, but she quickly realized that she couldn't make a sound. It was as if something was stuck in her throat, blocking her voice. She knew that Zhuowen must have secretly used a powerful force to block her voice. Gao Center said hesitantly, Brother Zhuo, you know that this is the Phoenix people's saintess. If we auction her off, won't we offend the Phoenix people? I think you should return the Phoenix people's saintess to the Phoenix people to avoid a greater disaster. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and said coldly, Supervisor Gao, can I assume that the Shentian auction house is afraid of the Phoenix people? I remember that the Shentian auction house has always been fair and just. You don't even give the top 10 races any face. Could it be that these rumors are false? Gao Center looked a little proud. Brother Zhuo, don't think that the Shentian auction house is just an auction house. It has a lot of power behind it. I'm just a subordinate of the auction house. The Shentian auction house isn't afraid of the Phoenix people. I'm just worried about your safety. After all, you're alone. If the Phoenix people find out that you're the one who auctioned the Saintess, you'll be hunted down by the Phoenix people. It won't be good for you. Zhuo Owen smiled. Supervisor Gao, you don't have to worry about that. I have my own way of dealing with this. You just need to auction the Saintess. Gao Center saw that Zhuo Owen was Zhuo Xian was. Gao knew that it was useless to say anything. In that case, the Saintess, let's leave the Saintess at the auction house for now. According to our deal, in 3 months let's leave the Star auction house, Saintess hands as auction house. There is no need. Shi Zhuo Feng Qiu auction hand Lin studio Zhuo Liu studio Qiu Yen Liu studio News studio Liu studio at that time, I will naturally send the Holy Maiden to your auction house. Zhuo Wen said indifferently. Brother Zhuo, do you not trust our auction house? Gao Center asked with a frown. I trust your auction house very much. I just don't want to make things difficult for your auction house. After all, if we spread the news about the saint in advance, the Phoenix people will definitely come looking for us. That will be troublesome. Zhuowen laughed. Gao Center was speechless. What Zhuowen said was not without reason. Then it's settled. This Zhuo will take his leave first. When the auction is about to begin, this Zhuo will naturally pay a visit. Zhuowen cupped his hands at Gao Center and left the room. Gao Center originally wanted to stop Zhuowen, but Zhuowen walked too quickly. When he walked out of the inner room, he saw that Zhuowen had already left the auction house. Supervisor, do you need me to send someone to follow this person? A figure quietly appeared behind Gao Center and asked in a low voice. Gao Center hesitated for a moment and said in a solemn voice, better not follow. This person isn't simple. He's definitely not an ordinary Skyreach Lord. It's best if we don't offend him easily. The figure didn't say anything and slowly disappeared behind Gao Center. After Zhuowen left the Shentian auction house, he immediately sensed several figures quietly following behind him. He had secretly used his divine sense to investigate and found that the few outsiders who were tailing him were all familiar faces from the queue at the appraisal window. Zhuo Wen sneered. His entire body turned into a blur as he shook off the alien race behind him. The strength of these foreign races was very ordinary. If Zhuowen wanted to kill them, it would be very easy. However, Zhuowen didn't do so as he felt that it would be troublesome. After leaving the Shentian auction house, Zhuowen didn't go far. Instead, he found a cave in a mountain range hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the auction house and set up a temporary cave residence there. He planned to use this time to let his main body consolidate his newly promoted cultivation base. After entering the great world, his main body immediately began to make breakthroughs and successfully advanced to the Lord of Creation level. Furthermore, during the process of ascension, he had advanced from the early stage to the late stage in one go. Zhuowen knew very well that the main reason his main body could continue to make breakthroughs the moment he advanced to the Lord of Creation level was mainly because of the blue frost Ganoderma. After all, the blue frost Ganoderma was a Skyreach divine herb. Its medicinal strength was extremely terrifying. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhuowen's main body was extremely special and didn't have a Dao root, his cultivation base might have advanced even faster and higher. Time passed slowly. There were still a few days before the 3 months were up. Zhuowen walked out of the cave residence and flew towards the Shentian auction house. During this time, the Shentian auction house was doing its best to promote the 2 great mystery creation elixirs. As soon as this news spread, the entire Eldritch Heaven domain was in an uproar. Almost all the foreign races knew what the great mystery creation elixirs were. It was a late-stage Skyreach divine pill. It was said that this divine pill could help a mid-stage Skyreach master obtain a creation opportunity and increase their chances of advancing. Generally speaking, those who could reach the Skyreach master level were all extremely talented and monstrous geniuses. The temptation of the Taishen spirit creation pill was simply too great for these masters of heaven ascension. It even alarmed many old monsters who hadn't appeared in the world for a long time. They all gathered at the Shentian auction house, waiting for it to open. When Zhuoan arrived at the Shentian auction house, he saw that the outside of the Shentian auction house was bustling with activity. It was so crowded that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Zhuoan was stunned. Obviously, he had underestimated the influence of the great mystery creation elixirs in the Eldritch Heaven domain. Zhuoan sent a message to Gao Center. Gao Center came out of the Shentian auction house and led Zhuoan into the Shentian auction house in front of everyone. Many of the foreign races gathered at the Shentian auction house looked displeased. At the same time, they looked at Zhuoan with puzzlement. Zhuoan had already disguised himself. Even if it was someone from the Phoenix clan, it would be difficult for them to recognize him immediately. Therefore, he was not worried about being recognized. Inside the Shentian auction house, Gao Center enthusiastically led Zhuoan to a seat. Zhuoan saw that there was an old man with white hair and a beard sitting inside. When the old man saw him enter, he stood up and greeted him warmly. "You should be the Zhuo Xiaoyu that Gao Center was talking about. This old man is the president of the Shentian auction house, Xian Hang. It's an honor to meet Zhuo Xiaoyu," the old man said with a smile. Zhuoan didn't dare to be negligent and also greeted Xian Hang politely. He could sense that Xian Hang was much stronger than Gao Center. He was most likely a mid-stage transcending heaven lord. By the way, news of the great mystery creation elixir has already spread. "Did the Phoenix people come?" Zhuoan asked in a low voice. Chapter 3295. Auctioning the Saints. Only a few fire deities. Zhuoan narrowed his eyes in annoyance. He had originally planned to lure the tiger away from the mountain and get the upper echelons of the Phoenix people to come out in full force. He did not expect that 2 Taishen spiritual creation pills would not be enough to lure the Phoenix master over. Zhuoan waved his sleeves and summoned the Phoenix people's saintess back to the inner room. "This is the Phoenix people's saintess. I hope you can auction her off as a slave. Also, do your best to advertise to the Phoenix people." Gao Center stood beside Xian Hang and did not speak. Xian Hang, on the other hand, looked at Zhuoan with a smile and said, "You have indeed handed over the saintess. However, it is obviously inappropriate for our auction house to sell the Phoenix people's saintess as a slave. It will easily make enemies with the Phoenix people. The risk is too great." Zhuoan looked at Xian Hang deeply. He knew that Xian Hang was going to bargain with him. "Mr. Xian Hang, if that is the case, then tell me clearly. What do you want in order to sell the Phoenix people's saintess in the name of the Shentian auction house?" Zhuoan asked calmly. Xian Hang smiled and said, "It is very simple. Zhuo Xiaoyu, since you dare to auction 2 Taishen spiritual creation pills, I believe you should still have some left on you. I don't want much. As long as Zhuo Xiaoyu can give me 2 pills, I will agree to your request to auction the saintess. I will also do my best to advertise for you." Zhuoan frowned as his eyes flickered. "President Xian, I only have those 2 Taishen spirit creation pills. You know how precious these pills are. Taking out 2 is already my limit. How can I take out more?" Xian Hang smiled and said calmly, "Zhuo Xiaoyu, then I can't do anything about it. After all, auctioning the Phoenix people's saintess is very risky. This is equivalent to falling out with the Phoenix people. I really can't bear this risk for you." Zhuoan's face turned ugly. He knew that Xian Hang would not help him auction the Phoenix people's saintess without enough benefits. Although he knew that the Shentian auction house was backed by many forces and translation, he was not afraid of the Phoenix people. But he also knew that Xian Hang was doing this for him. "I really don't have any Taishen spiritual creation pills, but I have a red moon starwave milk. If Xian Hang, you and me, translation Zhuoan said Xian Hang. Although he still had the Taishen spiritual creation pill on him, this divine pill was simply too precious. If he exposed too much of it, it would definitely cause Xian Hang to covet it. At that time, it would not be a good thing for him. When Xian Hang heard that Zhuoan indeed did not have the great mystery creation spirit pill, his eyes revealed a trace of disappointment. However, when he heard that there was the crimson moonstar wave milk, he immediately perked up. Although the Red Moon Starwave milk was not as good as the Taishen spiritual creation pills, it was still a divine elixir. It would be good for his cultivation. President Shen, other than the bottle of Crimson Moon Starwave essence, I also have a Supreme Harmony spiritual energy pill. As long as you help me, I can give you both of them. Zhuo Wen continued. Deal. Shen Hang made up his mind and agreed to Zhuo Wen's request. A bottle of Red Moon Starwave milk and a Taishen spiritual creation pill were already very valuable. Shen Hang had no reason to agree. I'll leave the Phoenix People's Saintess to the two of you. I hope that the Shentian auction house will not disappoint me. I still have some matters to attend to. I'll be back when the auction starts. I'll leave it to the two of you. Zhuowen cupped his hands and left the Shentian auction house. Shen Hang and GAO Center did not stop Zhuowen. My lord. This person must have a lot of good things on him. Didn't you say before that we must keep him here? GAO Center suddenly asked. Shen Hang shook his head and said, there's no hurry. This person is not simple. If we want to keep him here, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a high price. Moreover, the experts sent by our boss haven't arrived yet. It won't be worth it if we act now. Besides, as you can see, there are too many foreign races gathered around the auction house. The commotion here will easily attract their attention. If this person is exposed, it won't be good for us. GAO Center nodded. Xuanhang's words made sense. There were too many foreign races gathering around the Shentian auction house. Moreover, the auction was about to start. If something were to happen now, the auction would be ruined. At that time, it would arouse public anger. This was not a good thing for them. My lord, are we really going to auction off the Phoenix People's Saintess? GAO Center asked as he pointed at the Saintess of the Phoenix people who was lying limp on the ground. Shen Hang smiled slightly and said that Zhuowen probably has some grudges with the Phoenix people. That's why he's using this method to humiliate the Phoenix people. Although Zhuowen is suspected of using our Shentian auction house, it doesn't mean we can't use him. The Phoenix People's Saintess is the symbol of the Phoenix people. I'm sure the Phoenix people will definitely pay a high price to auction off the Saintess of the Phoenix people. This is a huge profit. Why should we let it go? My lord is right. This is a brilliant move. GAO Center couldn't help but flatter. After Zhuowen quietly left the Shentian auction house, his expression wasn't very good. The moment he entered the auction house, he sensed that there was a powerful heaven-piercing array set up in the auction house. Moreover, this array was in a state where it could be activated at any time. In other words, Shen Hang only needed to take out the array flag to activate the array. Zhuowen wouldn't be able to escape at all. Zhuowen had a feeling that this array was set up to deal with him. This was because the last time he entered the auction house, he didn't see any traces of this array. In other words, this array had been set up in the past 3 months or so. He didn't think that this array was set up to deal with the foreign races who came to the auction. It was definitely set up to deal with him. Shentian auction house, you'd better not cross my bottom line. Otherwise, I'll make sure your Shentian auction house can no longer do business. Zhuowen muttered in a low voice. Over the next few days, more and more foreign races came to the Shentian auction house. Most of them were here to participate in the upcoming auction. At this moment, a shocking piece of news came from the auction house. It was said that a very special female slave was going to be auctioned off in the upcoming auction. And this female slave was said to be the long-lost Saintess of the Phoenix people. This news spread like wildfire throughout the entire Eldritch celestial realm. Every race knew about it. Naturally, the Phoenix people also knew about this news. At this moment, in the main hall of the Phoenix people, the Phoenix Master, who was sitting on the main seat, suddenly smashed the tea table on her right into pieces. This Shentian auction house is really bold. They actually said that they want to auction off the Phoenix people's Saintess. Don't they know that the Saintess has been captured by the human race? Feng Bumming stood at the side and snorted. The two Xuanhua guardians nodded their heads repeatedly. They agreed with Feng Bumming's words. They also didn't believe that the Phoenix people's Saintess would fall into the hands of the Shentian auction house. The Phoenix Master, Feng Leluo, had a cold gaze. With a wave of her sleeve, an image appeared in mid-air. What appeared in the image was the figure of a beautiful woman. When Feng Buming and the two guardians of Xuanhua saw this beautiful woman, they immediately fell silent. Their eyes widened, revealing a look of disbelief. Chapter 3296. Everything was ready. It's really the Saintess. Wasn't she captured by a human called Zhuoan in the astral battlefield? How did she? Feng Buming's pupils shrank as he found it unbelievable. The Xuanhua guardian's eyes were also wide open. Their thoughts were similar to Feng Buming's. The Shentian auction house is really bold. How dare they auction off the Phoenix people's Saintess as a slave? This is a slap to the Phoenix people's face. Hei Xian, inform the fire deities near the Shentian auction house to contact them. Ask the Shentian auction house to release the Phoenix people's Saintess. Otherwise, don't blame the Phoenix people for being rude. The Phoenix master suppressed her anger and said coldly. Hei Xian guardian nodded and took out his communication jade talisman. He began to contact the fire deities near the Shentian auction house. Soon, Hei Xian guardian received a response. He said with an ugly expression, Phoenix master, the Shentian auction house refuses to meet the Phoenix people's fire deities. I heard that if there's anything, wait until the auction start. Feng Leluo's face was terrifyingly gloomy. She was so angry that she laughed. Good, good, good. The Shentian auction house is planning to fall out with the Phoenix people. Phoenix master, what should we do now? Are we going to fall out with the Shentian auction house? Feng Buming asked worriedly. That won't do. The Shentian auction house has many forces supporting it, including the powerful sorcerer tribe. If we fall out with the Shentian auction house, it'll be easy for us to fall out with the forces behind it. Xuanhua Guardian quickly said. Xuanhua Guardian is right. If we fall out with the Shentian auction house because of this, the losses will outweigh the gains. Since the Shentian auction house wants to auction off the Phoenix people's Saintess, there must be someone who put it up for auction. As long as we find that person, we'll be able to find out who the culprit is. Hei Xian Guardian cupped his fist. Feng Leluo snorted and said, the Shentian auction house is indeed getting more and more arrogant. However, you're right. There's no need to fall out with the Shentian auction house. As long as we find the culprit behind this, the truth will naturally come to light. Originally, I planned to wait for Zhuoan to come out of the undying bird purgatory before going to the mysterious sky auction house to participate in the auction. However, there has been no movement from the undying bird purgatory. It seems that Zhuoan won't come out for a while. Let's go to the mysterious sky auction house first. Whether it's the Holy Maiden or the two Taishen spiritual creation pills, they're all ours. As she spoke, Feng Leluo stood up and said to the two guardians of Xuanhua, Guardians, I'll take Bu Ming to the dark sky auction house first. Both of you will guard the clan. Also, don't worry. This time, I will definitely bid for the Taishen spiritual creation pills and give them to you. Originally, the two Xuanhua protectors were disappointed that Feng Leluo would not bring them to the auction house. They were both mid-stage sky-reaching masters, and the great profound creation panaceas were extremely beneficial to their advancement. However, when they heard Feng Leluo's words, they were shocked and quickly nodded. After instructing the two guardians of Xuanhua a few more times, Feng Leluo took Feng Bu Ming and hurriedly left the Phoenix people. When Feng Leluo took Feng Bu Ming away from the Phoenix people, they did not notice that there was a rock covered in moss on a mountain not far from the main city of the Phoenix people. If one observed carefully, the moss on the surface of the rock was very unnatural. It emitted a green light and did not look like natural moss. Naturally, it was not moss, but a monitoring formation that Zhuoan had secretly set up. The moment Feng Leluo left the Phoenix people, Zhuoan already knew. Thus, he set off from the mountain near the mysterious sky auction house and rushed toward the valley where the teleportation formation was located. When Zhuoan finally arrived at the valley where the teleportation formation was located, it was already 3 days later. He stood at the edge of the teleportation formation and pressed his right hand on the formation. Instantly, the formation emitted a faint white light. Then, The white light became more and more intense, like a small sun emitting intense light. After a while, Zhuowen disappeared into the light of the teleportation formation. This teleportation formation was modified by Zhuowen to be two-way. Back then, he had been teleported here through the teleportation formation in the Black Heart Sea of Flames in the Phoenix Purgatory. Now, he could naturally enter the Phoenix Purgatory through the teleportation formation here. The moment Zhuowen opened his eyes, he saw a sea of fire. He waved his sleeve, and the surrounding sea of fire dispersed. He knew that he was now in the Black Heart Sea of Flames in the Phoenix Purgatory. He jumped up the high slope, chose a direction, and disappeared on the spot like an arrow leaving the bow. Soon, he arrived at the valley outside the Phoenix Purgatory. When he entered the gorge, he immediately saw a black mass of foreign races gathering in the gorge and walking out of the gorge. Zhuowen was familiar with the few people in the lead. They were Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, Suo Ingdar, and the others. Of course, the outsiders in the valley also noticed Zhuowen's arrival. They were surprised at first, but then cheered loudly. Zhuowen landed in front of Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign in the valley. Master Zhuo. Suo Ingdar hurriedly bowed. It was not only Suo Ingdar. All of the foreign races behind him revealed respectful expressions as they bowed respectfully to Zhuowen. Master Zhuo, if it weren't for your divine pill, I wouldn't have been able to break through so quickly. You can be said to be my second parent. The snake-faced man was so excited that he kowtowed in front of Zhuowen. He almost knelt down and licked Zhuowen's boots in public. Zhuowen kicked the snake-faced man away. Then, he looked at Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign and said, "Have all the foreign races in the valley come out of seclusion?" "Brother Zhuo, they're all here. More than 90% of them have broken through in their cultivation. They're very grateful to you," Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign said with a smile. Zhuowen nodded. He had never doubted the divine pills he refined. He was not surprised that these foreign races could break through. Among this group of foreign races, besides Suo Ingdar who had broken through to the peak of the middle stage of the Ascension Realm, there were two other foreign races who were originally at the peak of the early stage of the Ascension Realm. This surprised Zhuowen. In addition, there were also two foreign races who had just become Ascension Realm Masters. In other words, including Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign, the original 6, and the two new ones, there were a total of 9 Ascension Realm Masters. Moreover, Crepe Myrtle Star Sovereign was a late-stage Ascension Realm Master. With such strength, Even Zhuoan would admit defeat unless he used all his trump cards. He knew how terrifying the force he was leading was. Even if the Phoenix Master did not leave the Phoenix people, it was enough to stir up a huge storm among the Phoenix people. Chapter 3297. Great Array Self-Destruct. Since everyone has come out of seclusion, then follow me out of the Phoenix Purgatory. However, before we leave the Phoenix Purgatory, I, Zhuoan, have something to ask you. Do you still remember what you promised me? Zhuoan looked at the black mass of foreign races in front of him and said with a strong voice. We swear that together with Master Zhuo, we will turn the Phoenix people upside down. The foreign race roared in unison. Master Zhuo, we have already thought about it. The Phoenix people have imprisoned us in the Phoenix Purgatory for so long, not caring about our lives. We've been wanting to turn the Phoenix clan upside down for a long time. Now that you have organized us, we can't wait. Suo Ingda laughed. Zhuoan nodded and said, I am very gratified to be able to obtain everyone's recognition. Also, if you are willing to follow me, Zhuoan, to cause trouble for the Phoenix people, I, Zhuoan, will not treat you unfairly. This time, the Phoenix people, as long as you snatch something, I will definitely not interfere. Everything you obtain will belong to you. Moreover, I will not take the Phoenix people's treasure trove for myself. Instead, I will open it for everyone to share. Whoever can snatch it, it will belong to them. However, we must not fight among ourselves because of this. If I find out that anyone has attacked their companions in the process of snatching something, I, Zhuoan, will be the first to come out and destroy them. As Zhuoan finished speaking, his tone was stern and cold. When the foreign race heard this, they all nodded their heads. They were wholeheartedly convinced by Zhuoan's policy. Seeing that no one had any objections, Zhuoan and the Purple Star Sovereign led the crowd towards the Black Heart Flame Sea. When they arrived at the shore of the Black Heart Flame Sea, the Purple Star Sovereign took a deep breath. Then, he sucked in all the black flames in the Black Heart Flame Sea. Suo Ingda and the other foreign races were dumbfounded. The Blackheart Fire Sea was a famous dangerous place in the Undying Bird Purgatory. Although they were not afraid of the black flames of the Blackheart Fire Sea, it was impossible for them to subdue all of it. However, Crepe Myrtle Star had done it. Everyone looked at Crepe Myrtle Star with fear and respect. Zhuoan wasn't surprised. After all, Crepe Myrtle Star Lord had obtained the inheritance of Phoenix Purgatory. All the black flames here were child's play to him. Of course, it was a secret between them that Crepe Myrtle Star had obtained the inheritance of the Undying Bird. They did not intend to make this matter public. Otherwise, it would attract unnecessary trouble. With the disappearance of the black flames, there was one less obstacle for Suo Ingda and the others. Zhuoan led the outsiders to where the teleportation formation was. The teleportation array can only teleport 300 people at a time, and there are nearly 10,000 of us in total. Therefore, we need to teleport more than 30 times and divide into more than 30 batches. As Zhuoan spoke, he counted the 300 or so people and had them enter the teleportation array before activating it and sending them out. Next, the outsiders entered the teleportation array in batches and were teleported out. Finally, it was the last batch. This last batch could be said to be the experts who stood at the top of the Phoenix Purgatory. Suo Ingda, the snake-faced man, and the other experts were in this batch. Zhuoan arranged for them to be teleported out last. Zhuoan and Crepe Myrtle Star Lord also entered the teleportation array. After activating the array, the last batch of outsiders disappeared in the light of the teleportation array. In a valley hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from the Phoenix people, a white light flashed. Zhuoan and Crepe Myrtle Star Lord led the last batch of outsiders and appeared in the valley. After Zhuoan and the others walked out of the teleportation array, Zhuoan directly destroyed it. Brother Zhuo, are we going to charge into the Phoenix people now? Crepe Myrtle Star Lord asked Zhuoan when he saw the main city of the Phoenix people hundreds of thousands of kilometers away. You guys watch a good show first. When the good show starts, listen to my orders and attack the main city of the Phoenix people. Zhuoan smiled mysteriously and took out an array flag. He formed a seal with both hands. The array flag's surface was filled with array Dao light. Then, it turned into a ray of light and disappeared on the spot. It rushed toward the main city of the Phoenix people in the distance. Crepe Myrtle Star Lord, Suo Ingdar, and the others were puzzled. However, since Juoan didn't say anything, they were too embarrassed to ask. They could only wait for the situation to develop. At this moment, in the main city of the Phoenix people, the tower-like building of the Phoenix Purgatory stood tall in the center of the main city. It burned with deep and solid black flames. Ever since Juoan entered the Phoenix Purgatory, the Phoenix people strengthened the defense around the Phoenix Purgatory. The Phoenix people patrolling around the Phoenix Purgatory were clearly many times stronger than before. Moreover, the two guardians of Xuanhua and two experts would occasionally wander around the Phoenix Purgatory to observe. At this moment, the two guardians of Xuanhua and Xian were observing the Phoenix Purgatory as usual. The other Phoenix people who passed by all bowed respectfully to the two of them. It's been so long, but Juoan hasn't done anything. This doesn't make sense. He Xian said with a frown. Perhaps Juoan is completely trapped in the undying bird purgatory. If that's the case, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a huge price to break the 3 heaven ascension arrays around the Phoenix Purgatory, Xuehua said. Since Juoan is a heaven ascension divine array master, I think he should have prepared a backup plan before entering the Phoenix Purgatory. Otherwise, he wouldn't have entered so recklessly, He Xian said. He Xian, are you saying that Juoan left a teleportation array in the main city? Xuehua asked as he realized something. Yes, I think the Phoenix Master has the same idea. During this period, the Phoenix Master has searched the entire main city but didn't find any traces of a teleportation array. I'm afraid that Juoan has set up a teleportation array in one of the 3 heaven ascension arrays. Therefore, the Phoenix Master is certain that Juoan will be able to leave the Phoenix Purgatory smoothly, He Xian said in a deep voice. Xuehua came to a realization and his eyes were filled with vigilance. If what He Xian said was true, the Phoenix Purgatory really couldn't trap Juoan. After all, this guy was a heaven ascension divine array master. He could set up any kind of array. Suddenly, a streamer came from afar and entered the heaven ascension array on the surface of the Phoenix Purgatory. The two guardians of Xuanhua naturally noticed it, but the streamer was too fast. By the time they reacted, the streamer had already entered the Phoenix Purgatory. Then, a terrifying aura came from the heaven ascension array around the Phoenix Purgatory. Boom! 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 In an instant, the 3 heaven ascension arrays around the Phoenix Purgatory trembled violently and exploded one after another. The terrifying energy spread out in all directions, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Before the two guardians of Xuanhua could react, they were covered by the terrifying energy of the explosion. However, the two guardians of Xuanhua reacted quickly enough. The moment the terrifying energy approached, they immediately retreated. At the same time, they frantically stimulated the energy in their bodies to cover their bodies and protect themselves. Chapter 3298. Death by blood and fire. The explosion of the 3 great heaven-level arrays produced a terrifying amount of energy. Waves of fire poured out in all directions. They were like tentacles formed by flames, destroying everything around them. The Phoenix people's main city was huge, but the energy of the explosion was not small either. 1/3 of the main city was destroyed. Screams of agony could be heard from the Phoenix people's main city. These were the powerhouses of the Phoenix people who were engulfed by the terrifying waves of fire and could not escape. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The Phoenix people who were in seclusion rushed out from the other parts of the main city that were not affected by the waves of fire. They looked at the terrifying waves of fire that were spreading out from the center of the main city. Get out of the way. Don't get too close. There's a huge explosion at the Phoenix Purgatory. The Phoenix people realized something and retreated to avoid the terrifying waves of fire that were spreading toward them. At the same time, when the Phoenix people retreated, they saw 2 extremely wretched figures rushing out from the waves of fire. The 2 figures were completely charred, and their auras were weak. However, upon closer inspection, they could recognize that they were the two guardians of the Xuanhua sect. Two guardians? Is it you? One of the Phoenix people asked uncertainly. It's us. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and inform the 4 fire deities who are guarding the main city to activate the Great City Protection Array. Also, inform the Phoenix Master that the Phoenix people are under attack. The Black Guardian roared in a hoarse voice. The Phoenix people was shocked and quickly agreed. He took out his communication jade talisman, intending to inform the 4 fire deities. However, before he could send out the message, the 4 fire deities had already rushed to the edge of the main city. They formed a seal with their hands, and the entire border of the main city surged with powerful waves of array formation. A huge semicircular array appeared around the main city and enveloped the entire main city. However, the moment the Great City Protection Array appeared, dense waves of ripples appeared. Then, under the shocked gazes of the Phoenix people, the Great City Protection Array that had just been activated collapsed in an instant. They also noticed a figure floating in the air outside the main city. This was a young man with cold eyes. He was dressed in black, and his clothes fluttered in the wind. It's Zhuowen. When did this guy leave the Phoenix Purgatory? The moment the two Xuanhua protectors saw the black-clothed young man, they immediately recognized the latter's identity and could not help but exclaim. They had always thought that Zhuowen was still in the Undying Bird Purgatory, but they did not expect that the latter had already left the Undying Bird Purgatory. The two mystical flame protectors also knew that Zhuowen must have been behind the self-destruction of the 3 great arrays around the Phoenix Purgatory. The two guardians of the Xuanhua sect took out a healing elixir and swallowed it. After stabilizing the horrifying injuries on their bodies, they looked at Zhuowen in the sky and gnashed their teeth in hatred. Zhuowen, you dared to destroy the Phoenix Purgatory. You are setting yourself on fire. Now, we will give you a chance to live. Make a solemn vow that you will be loyal to the Phoenix people for the rest of your life. The Phoenix people will not only spare your life, but also let you live a comfortable life as a dog. Now, you have no choice. You can either become a dog of the Phoenix people or die. The Xuanhua protector's eyes were cold as he looked at Zhuowen. His eyes were filled with arrogance and contempt. In the eyes of the two guardians of the Xuanhua sect, Zhuowen would definitely yield. This was because, no matter how strong he was, he could not possibly go against the entire Phoenix people. At this moment, the 4 fire deities had also landed beside the two guardians of the Xuanhua sect. They looked at Zhuowen with hostility. It's not impossible for me to join the Phoenix people. The condition is that you give me the treasury of the Phoenix people first. Then, I will consider joining you. Zhuowen said calmly. How dare you? Today, you have no choice. You can only become a dog of the Phoenix people. Whether you are willing or not, you don't have the right to choose. The choice lies in our pity. The Xuanhua protector snorted coldly. With a stomp of his right foot, the aura of the peak of the middle stage Heaven Ascension Master gushed out. However, Zhuowen could keenly see that the Xuanhua protector's aura was much weaker than it had been before. He knew that this was probably because the Xuanhua protector had been horribly affected by the self-destruction of the 3 Heaven Ascension arrays. His body had suffered some serious injuries, and his strength had dropped by at least 30%. Zhuowen, you still have the right to be a dog of the Phoenix people. Therefore, I will not kill you. I will only cripple you and make you refine arrays for the Phoenix people for all eternity. This will be your tragic fate for countless years to come. The Xuanhua protector was extremely fast. In an instant, he was in front of Zhuowen. His sinister voice rang out slowly. His voice was filled with confidence that victory was within his grasp. In the Xuanhua protector's opinion, although this Zhuowen had some strength, the gap between them was not small. Even if this kid used all his strength, he would not be a match for him at all. In the main city, the Black Mystic Protector, the 4 fire deities, and the Phoenix people all had mocking looks on their faces. They were also full of confidence in the Xuanhua protector. They felt that the Xuanhua protector could easily get rid of Zhuowen. Zhuowen threw out a punch and collided with the Xuanhua protector's fist. Immediately after, he groaned and flew backward, spitting out a mouthful of blood. You are indeed a piece of trash. The Xuanhua protector sneered. When he saw that Zhuoan had been repelled with a single blow, the contempt in his eyes became even more intense. He wanted to follow up with another attack, wanting to give Zhuoan a thunderous blow and completely cripple Zhuoan. However, the moment he caught up to Zhuoan, he felt an inexplicable sense of unease. "Brother Crepe Myrtle, make your move." Zhuoan looked at the Xuanhua protector, who was getting closer and closer, with a hint of mockery in his eyes. He only said one sentence before a figure suddenly swept out from his body. This person was Crepe Myrtle Star, and Crepe Myrtle Star had swept out from Zhuoan's great world. Not only Crepe Myrtle Star, but all the foreign races that came out of the undying bird purgatory had been temporarily moved into Zhuoan's great world to catch the Phoenix people off guard. As soon as Crepe Myrtle Star appeared, he launched a fatal attack on the Xuanhua protector. He threw out a punch, and endless black flames surged out. In an instant, they spread in mid-air, forming a terrifying black sea of fire. In this black sea of fire, an extremely huge undying bird broke out of the sea of fire and instantly swallowed the Xuanhua protector. The Xuanhua protector screamed. In the black flames of the undying bird, he could only passively resist. But soon, his resistance gradually weakened. In the end, he completely turned into ashes in the black flames of the undying bird and disappeared. Without a doubt, the Xuanhua protector's body and soul were completely destroyed in the black flames of the undying bird. Zhuoan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and jumped onto the black flames of the undying bird energetically. He stood side by side with Crepe Myrtle Star like a proud and aloof king. He had naturally pretended to be repelled by the Xuanhua protector's attack just now. It was to make the Xuanhua protector careless and give Crepe Myrtle Star a better opportunity to attack. Not only did Crepe Myrtle Star's strength not disappoint him, but it also surprised him. He had actually destroyed the Xuanhua protector so easily. From this, it could be seen that the late-stage Master of Heaven was much stronger than the mid-stage Master of Heaven. Chapter 3299. Defeated Crepe Myrtle Star. The He Xian Guardian was the first to react. His eyes widened as he stared at Crepe Myrtle Star, who was standing beside Zhuoan. He was very familiar with Crepe Myrtle Star. He had been there when Crepe Myrtle Star had been captured and thrown into the Phoenix Purgatory. He had seen Crepe Myrtle Star being imprisoned there. But now, Crepe Myrtle Star had also come out. His aura was so strong that it made the He Xian Guardian tremble in fear. "You've reached the late stage of the ascending realm? How can you be so fast?" The He Xian Guardian shouted in shock. Crepe Myrtle Star Monarch looked down at the shocked protector He Xian and said indifferently, "He Xian, your Phoenix clan has reached its end today. I think you'd better surrender. Maybe Brother Zhuo won't kill the Phoenix people." He Xian laughed and said, "Crepe Myrtle Star, do you really think you're invincible just because you've reached the late stage of the ascending realm? Let me tell you, you're just an ant in front of our Phoenix Master. It's easy for him to kill you." Crepe Myrtle Star sneered and said, "It's true that your Phoenix people's Phoenix Master is stronger than me. After all, he's reached the late stage of the ascending realm a long time ago. I'm no match for him in terms of strength. But is your Phoenix Master among the Phoenix people now?" The He Xian Guardian's expression changed slightly. He thought of something and said, "You're attacking the Phoenix people because you knew that our Phoenix Master would leave? What else?" Myrtle Star Sovereign's mouth was filled with mockery as he glanced at Zhuoan beside him. "Brother Crepe Myrtle, do it. I hope that the Phoenix people will cease to exist from now on," Zhuoan said calmly. Crepe Myrtle Star nodded and stomped his right foot. The huge Phoenix Purgatory under his feet swooped down and swept toward He Xian. Zhuoan leaped out of the undying bird's black flames and hovered above the main city like a king overlooking the entire land. "The four of you, work together to eliminate that Zhuoan." When Crepe Myrtle Star swooped down and attacked the Black Mystic Protector, the Black Mystic Protector ordered the four fire gods beside him to attack Zhuoan. The four fire deities naturally did not dare to disobey the Black Mystic Protector's order. They turned into four streamers and flew toward Zhuoan. "Everyone, let's attack together. Today, we'll all be heavily rewarded if we eliminate this traitor Zhuoan." The moment the four fire gods attacked, they did not forget to encourage the Phoenix people in the main city. The Phoenix people responded. They had long been unhappy with Zhuoan. In addition, during this period of time, Zhuoan had done all kinds of things against the Phoenix people in Phoenix Blood City. This made the Phoenix people extremely disgusted with Zhuoan. They could not wait to tear Zhuoan into pieces. The 4 fire deities led the Phoenix people and surrounded Zhuoan in an instant. They surrounded Zhuoan from all directions. Bang! At this moment, Crepe Myrtle Star and the Black Mystic Protector clashed. The Black Mystic Protector groaned and immediately retreated. Crepe Myrtle Star frowned. The Black Mystic Protector's strength was above the Shuahua Protector's, but the Black Mystic Protector had blocked his attack. However, Crepe Myrtle Star was not discouraged. He stomped his right foot and continued to launch a terrifying attack at the Black Mystic Protector. In an instant, the Black Mystic Protector was completely suppressed by Crepe Myrtle Star's attacks. The injuries on his body became more and more terrifying. However, the Black Mystic Protector was very slippery. He did not fight Crepe Myrtle Star head-on. Instead, he used his powerful movement skills to constantly dodge Crepe Myrtle Star's attacks. Even so, the Black Mystic Protector's injuries continued to worsen. If this continued, he would not be able to hold on for long. Crepe Myrtle Star, don't you care about Zhuoan? If you don't help that Zhuoan, he will be finished. The Black Mystic Protector spat out a mouthful of blood. He endured the serious injuries on his body and used his movement skills. Like a slippery loach, he constantly flashed in the air. Crepe Myrtle Star's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. The Black Mystic Protector was too slippery. He did not dare to fight him head-on. If the Black Mystic Protector had fought him head-on, he would have killed the Black Mystic Protector long ago. Brother Zhuo's strength is not something you can imagine. Moreover, there is no need for him to personally take care of such a motley crew. Crepe Myrtle Star sneered again and again. He also used his movement skills and chased after the Black Mystic Protector. Terrifying black flames covered the sky and covered the earth as they surged towards the Black Mystic Protector. The Black Mystic Protector resisted the attacks of the black flames with difficulty. He could not help but look at Zhuoan from the corner of his eyes. Then, he found that the countless Phoenix people who had surrounded Zhuoan so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. At this moment, they were like buckwheat being harvested, constantly falling from the sky. Through the gap, he finally saw clearly that Zhuoan was not the only one who was surrounded. Instead, there were close to 10,000 outsiders. Zhuoan, on the other hand, was protected in the center by nearly 10,000 outsiders and was completely unharmed. When the Black Mystic Protector saw the nearly 10,000 outsiders clearly, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This was because he saw many familiar faces among these outsiders. These familiar faces were all the prisoners he had personally captured and thrown into the Phoenix Purgatory. He quickly realized that these tens of thousands of outsiders were all prisoners of the Undying Bird Purgatory, and now they were all released. Moreover, he found that among these outsiders, there were 3 mid-stage Heaven Ascension Masters and 5 early-stage Heaven Ascension Masters. In addition, there was a late-stage Heaven Ascension Master like Crepe Myrtle Star. Such a force was simply too terrifying. If the Phoenix Lord did not appear, the Phoenix people would not be a match for such a force at all. It's over. The Black Mystic Protector's face was pale. He knew that the Phoenix people were finished this time. In the face of such a powerful force, the Phoenix people were useless no matter how strong they were. And their Phoenix Lord had gone to the mysterious Sky Auction House. The Phoenix people's main city was about to fall. Crepe Myrtle Star seized the moment when the Black Mystic Protector was in a daze and slammed his palm into the Black Mystic Protector's chest. The Black Mystic Protector spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. His body twitched and his aura weakened. The Black Mystic Protector struggled to get up, but Crepe Myrtle Star landed on the ground and stomped on the Black Mystic Protector's chest ruthlessly. The moment the Black Mystic Protector was stomped, the battle in the sky came to an end. The 4 fire gods were the fastest to die. Suo Ingda alone dealt with the 4 fire gods, while the other 7 sky-piercing masters massacred the surrounding Phoenix clansmen. Under the leadership of these Empyrean masters, the Phoenix clan's troops were utterly routed. They were simply unable to pose a threat. The Black Mystic Protector's eyes were ashen as he watched all this. He looked at Zhuoan in the sky with resentment and roared, "Zhuoan, we Phoenix people have no enmity with you. Why are you always targeting us Phoenix people? Why?" The Black Mystic Protector was unwilling. He roared with resentment and questioned Zhuoan fiercely. Zhuoan slowly landed in front of the Black Mystic Protector while surrounded by the crowd. "I'm targeting you Phoenix people not because of myself, but because of my wife, Mu Chunxue. You've tortured her for so many years, so it's time for me to get some interest back. You remember well, my Zhuowen's people aren't so easy to touch." Zhuowen said coolly. "Mu Chunxue? Could you be?" The Black Mystic Protector's pupils shrank as he thought of a possibility. Just as he was about to say it, he realized that he couldn't make a sound. Then, he felt a splitting pain between his eyebrows and his eyelids slowly closed. Chapter 3300. Redeeming the Virgin. When Feng Leluo arrived at the Shentian auction house with Feng bumming, it caused an uproar among the foreign races gathered around the Shentian auction house. Experts at Feng Leluo's level basically stood at the peak of the untainted heavenly domain. They would not appear easily. Feng Leluo and Feng bumming didn't look too good. As soon as they entered the mysterious sky auction house, they immediately heard the discussion about the Phoenix people's saintess. The tightly shut doors of the mysterious sky auction house slowly opened and the auction house president, Xian Hang, slowly walked out with a smile on his face. "Lord Phoenix Master, I didn't think that you would personally come to the profound sky auction house. This is truly rare. However, the auction still has a few days. I wonder what Lord Phoenix Lord is planning on doing by making me come out in such a hurry?" Xian Hang said with a grin. Feng Leluo snorted coldly and said, "President Xian, don't keep me in suspense. I'm here today to demand an explanation from you. Recently, there's a rumor going around that your auction house is about to auction off a female slave, and this female slave is the saintess of the Phoenix people. What the hell is going on?" Xian Hang chuckled and said, "Lord Phoenix Master, you're also aware of our auction house's rules. We never ask about the items that are put up for auction. Furthermore, some of the gimmicks in the auction are created based on the people who put them up for auction. The matter of the Phoenix people's saintess has nothing to do with our mysterious sky auction house. You can't accuse a good person unjustly." Feng Leluo knew that Xian Hang was trying to shirk responsibility, but she did not care. What she wanted to know now was who was so daring to auction the saintess of the Phoenix people. Regardless of whether the saintess of the Phoenix people was real or not, once the news got out, the reputation of the Phoenix people would be damaged greatly. "Since it has nothing to do with your mysterious heavenly auction house, I won't pursue the matter. Now, take me to see the female slave and tell me the identity of the person who put it up for auction. Otherwise, don't blame us Phoenix people for being impolite." Feng Leluo said coldly. Xian Hang sneered and said, "Phoenix Lord, are you threatening our profound sky auction house? Although our Shentian auction house is only a small business and can't compare to you Phoenix people, if you Phoenix people want to bully us, the Shentian auction house will not be afraid." The way Xian Hang addressed Feng Leluo directly changed from Lord Phoenix Master to Lord Phoenix Master. It must be said that the speed at which this guy changed his attitude was faster than flipping a book. Feng Leluo frowned. He naturally did not dare to do anything to the mysterious sky auction house. Not to mention the profound sky auction house's background, just the forces behind the foreign races gathered here were enough to make him suffer. Naturally, he wouldn't take the risk of being condemned by everyone and really ruin this auction. "President Xian Hang, how about this? Just treat it as giving me face. The Phoenix people will bid for that female slave. Just name your price." Feng Leluo didn't want to talk too much nonsense with Xian Hang and went straight to the point. Right now, he only wanted to bid for the Phoenix people's saintess before the auction started. After all, once the auction started, the Phoenix people's saintess would be auctioned as a female slave in front of everyone. That would simply be a disgrace to the Phoenix people. In order to prevent such a shameful thing from happening, Feng Leluo naturally wanted to go through the back door and bid for the Phoenix People's Saintess before the auction started. Xianhang also expected this, which was why he came out to meet Feng Leluo after she called him out. He knew very well that if the Phoenix People's Saintess were to be auctioned, the other forces would definitely not offend the Phoenix people by bidding for her. At that time, they wouldn't be able to bid for a high price. Now that Feng Leluo wanted to bid for her in advance, the nature of the situation was different. He could totally raise the price. Haha, Lord Phoenix Master is really straightforward. I love doing business with people like you the most. That female slave's identity is not ordinary, so naturally, the price won't be low. How about this? We originally planned to set the price at 100 million high-grade Heavenly Law origin crystals. However, for the sake of Lord Phoenix Master, I'll give you a 20% discount. Then, it'll be 80 million. How about it? This is a very good deal, Xianhang said. Feng Leluo resisted the urge to slap Xianhang. This old guy was asking for a sky-high price. In the past, when the female slaves were auctioned, it was already a sky-high price of 1 million Heavenly Law origin crystals. However, this old guy Xianhang directly bid 100 million. Even with a discount, it would still be 80 million. This was blatant extortion. 50 million. Feng Leluo frowned. She knew that she was the one who took the initiative to bid for the Phoenix People's Saintess. She was in a passive position and couldn't get a good price from Xianhang. 60 million, I can't go any lower. If Lord Phoenix Master can't accept it, then forget it. You can bid again after the auction starts. Xianhang chuckled and put his hands behind his back, planning to return to the Shentian auction house. Alright, 60 million then. Now, bring me to the Shentian auction house and let me see that female slave. Feng Leluo said with a gloomy expression. Feng Bumming, who was standing beside Feng Leluo, and the 3 fire deities who had already arrived at the Shentian auction house all revealed sullen expressions. They, the Phoenix people, were one of the 10 great races of the primitive heavenly domain. Now, they were being extorted by Xianhang in such a blatant manner, and they could only swallow their anger. Haha, Lord Phoenix Master is really straightforward. You all follow me in. Xuanhang's heart was filled with joy as he led the Phoenix Master and the others into the Shentian auction house. After passing through a few pitch-black corridors, Xianhang stopped in a room. Only then did Feng Leluo and the others see clearly that the room was decorated rather magnificently. There was everything inside. In addition, a beautiful woman wearing a fiery red dress sat on the bed in a daze. Junior Sister Manya, are you all right? Feng Bumming hurried forward and walked to the front of the Phoenix People's Saintess, his eyes full of concern. The Phoenix People's Saintess came back to her senses. The moment she saw Feng Bumming, she immediately grabbed Feng Bumming's shoulder excitedly and said, "Senior Brother Bumming, is it really you? I'm not dreaming, am I?" Feng Bumming comforted her. "Junior Sister Manya, you're not dreaming. We're here to save you." Feng Leluo took a step forward and grabbed the right arm of the Phoenix People's Saintess. Her relaxed expression immediately turned gloomy. She suddenly grabbed the Phoenix People's Saintess and threw her to the ground. The Phoenix People's Saintess did not expect such an unforeseen event. She was dizzy from the fall, spitting out blood and twitching all over. "Phoenix Master, what are you doing?" Feng Bumming was stunned. Feng Leluo ignored Feng Bumming and walked to the front of the Phoenix People's Saintess. She looked down at her and said, "Feng Manya, as the Saintess of the Phoenix people, you have the 99 Phoenix body. You are the future hope of the Phoenix people. However, where did your 99 Phoenix body bloodline go? Moreover, most of your cultivation has been crippled. You are now a cripple. A cripple like you actually made me spend 60 million Heavenly Law origin crystals to auction you off. What a waste." When the Phoenix People's Saintess Feng Manya found out that the person in front of her was actually the Phoenix Master, who had not appeared for a long time, her delicate body trembled. She quickly struggled to get up and knelt in front of Feng Leluo. She quickly explained, "Phoenix Master, please forgive me. All of this was done by Zhuoan. He was the one who took away the 99 Phoenix body bloodline from my body." Chapter 3301. Ruins Zhuoan? That damn Zhuoan again? Feng Leluo's eyes were filled with flames of anger. This man called Zhuoan had intruded the Phoenix people and destroyed their ancestral shrine. He had also killed many of the Phoenix people. And now, this man had extracted the 99 Phoenix body bloodline of the Phoenix people's saintess and sold her as a slave to humiliate the Phoenix people. If Feng Leluo caught Zhuoan, he wouldn't show him any mercy. Initially, he had planned to make Zhuoan serve the Phoenix people and refine the formations for the Phoenix people. Perhaps, he would treat Zhuoan well. But now, he didn't have that thought anymore. He planned to force Zhuoan to become his slave and make him a machine to refine formations for the Phoenix people forever. Feng Bumming frowned as he was a little suspicious. He hurried to ask, Sister Manya, the human who had captured you is called Zhuoan, right? If he's a human, he couldn't have entered the primitive desolate heavenly realm. So, how did he bring you to the mysterious heaven auction house? Hearing Feng Bumming, Feng Leluo and the others came back to their senses. Feng Bumming was right. Feng Manya should be with the human clan. How could she come to the mysterious heaven auction house in the primitive desolate heavenly realm? Zhuoan used the secret passage to enter the primitive desolate heavenly realm. Also, he has a clone of an alien race. His original human body is usually kept by him. That's why he can do whatever he wants in the untainted heavenly realm without being discovered by the other alien races. Feng Manya explained. What? In other words, the man from the devouring clan called Zhuoan who had intruded the Phoenix people is Zhuoan of the human clan. Damn it. This guy is humiliating us. He didn't even change his name. Feng Bumming was so angry that his teeth itched. Feng Leluo clenched her fists tightly. She had a feeling that she had been fooled by Zhuoan. This feeling annoyed her, and she was enraged. Master Feng, you've seen this female slave. Isn't it time to pay the auction fee? Xian Hang urged her. Feng Leluo coldly looked at Xian Hang. She took out a spiritual ring and threw it to him. Then, Feng Leluo directly turned around and left the mysterious heaven auction house. This time, he had spent 6,000 heavenly law origin crystals. It was a great loss. If Feng Manya's 99 Phoenix body bloodline was still there, then the heavenly law origin crystal would be worth it. Unfortunately, Feng Manya was already a cripple. She was no longer of any use to the Phoenix clan. The heavenly law 10 heavenly realm heavenly realm heavenly realm. Feng Bumming supported Feng Manya and followed her out. He knew that Feng Leluo was very angry, so he didn't dare to say anything. After walking out of the mysterious heaven auction house, Feng Bumming suddenly saw Feng Leluo stop. Then, Feng Leluo took out the communication jade talisman at her waist and checked the news inside. Feng Bumming found that Feng Leluo's body had stiffened, and then she was trembling violently. Master Feng, what happened? Feng Bumming asked carefully. Feng Manya kept her head down. She felt ashamed and confused at the same time. She was already a cripple, and she didn't know what to do in the future. The 3 great arrays around the Phoenix Purgatory have self-destructed. Someone from the main city sent me a message. Feng Leluo's eyes flickered as she said gloomily. What? That Zhuoan did it. But that's not right. If those 3 great arrays self-destructed, wouldn't the Phoenix Purgatory be destroyed? Could it be that Zhuoan left the Phoenix Purgatory in advance? Feng Bumming asked in surprise. I'm not sure about the details. I'll send a message to the 2 guardians of the mysterious flame to ask about the details. Feng Leluo had a bad premonition in her heart. She quickly sent another message to the 2 guardians of the mysterious flame. She wanted to ask about what had happened in the main city. However, after waiting for a long time, the 2 guardians of the mysterious flame did not reply. This made Feng Leluo feel even more uneasy. I'll go back to the main city to take a look. You guys stay near the mysterious heaven auction house and wait for my news. After Feng Leluo instructed Feng Bumming, she took out her flying divine tool and left the mysterious heaven auction house in a stream of light. Senior brother Bumming, could it be that Zhuoan's doing again? When Feng Manya heard Zhuoan's name, her delicate body couldn't help but tremble. Her beautiful eyes revealed a vicious look. She had already heard a lot about Zhuowen from Feng Bumming. She knew that Zhuowen dared to kill the Phoenix people. He was too daring. It should be that Zhuowen, Junior Sister Manya, didn't you just say that Zhuowen came to the mysterious heaven auction house 3 months ago? I'm afraid that Zhuowen left the Phoenix Purgatory 3 months ago. The most hateful thing is that we were still kept in the dark by that bastard and played around. Feng Bumming said resentfully. Feng Manya was silent. She suddenly regretted telling Zhuowen the exact address of the Phoenix people. She had always thought that if Zhuowen really dared to barge into the Phoenix people, he would definitely die and she would be easily saved. However, the current development made her feel fear and regret. She had never thought that Zhuowen would be so monstrous. In such a short period of time, his strength had actually become so terrifying and powerful. Even the entire Phoenix people were unable to completely kill him. Now, he had even provoked the Phoenix Master to personally take action. Seeing Feng Manya's gloomy expression, Feng Bumming changed his words. Junior Sister Manya, you don't have to worry. Although this Zhuowen is strong, with the Phoenix Master taking action, this boy will definitely die. When the time comes, I will avenge you. Feng Manya forced a smile and said, Manya naturally knows the Phoenix Master's strength. This time, when the Phoenix Master returns, you will definitely kill that Zhuowen. It's just that I'm a little tired. I hope that senior brother can help me find an inn and let me rest. Feng Bumming nodded and looked at Feng Manya with a strange light in his eyes. He said, since junior sister is tired, senior brother will naturally understand. Senior brother will take junior sister to find an inn to rest. As he spoke, Feng Bumming held Feng Manya tightly in his arms and headed to the more prosperous area near the mysterious heaven auction house to find an inn. Feng Manya wanted to struggle, but when she thought that her cultivation had been crippled, her eyes revealed a sad expression. She gave up and allowed Feng Bumming to hold her. When Feng Leluor left the mysterious heaven auction house and hurriedly rushed back to the Phoenix people's main city, she sent a message to the dozens of subordinate races of the Phoenix people, asking them to all head to the main city to provide support. The dozens of subordinate races who received Feng Leluor's message were all alarmed. They were all ready to go and gathered in the main city of Phoenix City. However, when they arrived at the main city of the Phoenix people, what they saw was a stretch of ruins. And the corpses of the Phoenix people were piled up like small mountains in the ruins. All the powerhouses of the subordinate races were shocked. They had never thought that the main city of the Phoenix people would be invaded and massacred. This was simply too unbelievable. Chapter 3302. The treasure vault. We have to inform the Phoenix Master about this place. Also, who is it that dares to do such a thing to the Phoenix people's main city? This is a crime against the world. One of the leaders of the affiliated clans hurriedly took out a communication jade talisman and sent a message to Feng Leluor. Then, he said in fear, "Let's go in and take a look. We just don't know if the culprit is still in the ruins." Another leader of the subsidiary race's eyes flickered. He led his race team and rushed towards the Phoenix people's main city that had already been turned into ruins. However, just as they were about to step into the edge of the ruins, waves of intense array Tao ripples appeared one after another. Following which, the group let out a miserable cry as they were directly sent flying by a powerful rebound force. The leader at the front of the team spat out a mouthful of blood and almost fainted. The other subsidiary races that were about to make a move immediately extinguished their urge to rush into the ruins when they saw the miserable state of the team. Someone has set up an extremely powerful formation around the ruins. If we try to force our way in, we won't be able to get in. Then what should we do? Are we just going to watch the Phoenix people's main city be destroyed? We are powerless. We can only wait for the Phoenix Master to return. After a discussion, the subsidiary races that had rushed over came to a consensus. They would not act rashly and planned to wait for Feng Leluor to return first. At this moment, in the ruins of the Phoenix people's main city, Zhuowen saw the subsidiary races of the Phoenix people rushing over from all over through the formation at the edge. It seems that the Phoenix Master has already sensed that something has happened to her race. She actually gathered all the subsidiary races. Crepe Myrtle Star narrowed his eyes and said. Zhuowen nodded and said nonchalantly, "They are just a bunch of mobs. They are not worth mentioning. They don't even dare to enter the formation that I set up. What can they do? By the way, Brother Crepe Myrtle, did any of the Phoenix people surrender? If any of them surrendered and did not resist, we can spare their lives. Those who continue to resist will be killed without mercy." Crepe Myrtle said, "Other than the Phoenix people who were led by the 4 fire gods at the beginning, the rest of the Phoenix people have lost their fighting spirit and surrender." Zhuowen nodded. Now that the strongest members of the Phoenix clan, the 2 protectors of the profound flame and the 4 fire deities had been dealt with, there was almost no one left in the Phoenix clan who could resist them. The remaining members of the Phoenix clan had no reason to not surrender. Ask the Phoenix people who surrendered. Do any of them know where the Phoenix people's treasury is? If they're willing to tell us, we can set them free. We won't keep them trapped here," Zhuowen said calmly. Purple Myrtle Star Sovereign nodded and went to ask around. He soon returned and said, "It is said that the treasury should be hidden in the Phoenix Master's Hall. However, only the higher-ups of the Phoenix people know the exact location." "They don't know the exact location. All right. Everyone, follow me to the Phoenix Master's Hall. As long as we find the treasury and open it, everyone will have a share of the treasures inside. As long as you can snatch it, it will be yours," Zhuowen said loudly. Zhuowen's words immediately attracted the response of Suo Ingdar and the rest of the foreign races. This was the treasury of the Phoenix people. With the foundation of the Phoenix people, there should be many rare treasures in the treasury. Soon, Zhuowen led the group of foreign races to the majestic and luxurious Phoenix Master's Hall. Zhuowen did not hold back and punched out. A terrifying energy burst out and the Phoenix Master's Hall was blasted into ruins by Zhuowen's punch. After that, Zhuowen jumped into the ruins and took out a beast bone array disc. He began to use the array to find the location of the hidden treasury. Soon, he found a concealment array disc in the deepest part of the hall. After he broke the concealment array disc, he found that what appeared in front of him was a huge and exquisite bronze door. The copper door was covered with extremely complicated seals and restrictions. But these restriction seals were truly not worth mentioning in Zhuowen's eyes. With his formation's Dao level, cracking these restrictions was indeed a piece of cake for him. After breaking the seals on the bronze door slowly opened, revealing an empty tunnel. This tunnel led to the depths of the earth. Whoosh, whoosh. The moment the bronze door opened, the foreign races behind Zhuowen rushed in impatiently. Just as Purple Star Sovereign was about to stop the foreign races who were rushing in, Zhuowen waved his hand, indicating that he should not act rashly. Zhuowen looked at the motionless snake-faced man behind him in surprise. It could be said that the snake-faced man was the only one among the group of foreign races who was still following him. Even Suo Ingdar and the rest of the foreign races had entered the tunnel. However, the snake-faced man was patient and did not do anything. Seeing Zhuowen look over, the snake-faced man chuckled. "Grandmaster Zhuo, I think that you are a capable person. Following you will definitely be beneficial. I've already opened the door to the treasury. Do you still think so? You watched them go in. What if they beat you to it? Don't you think it's a pity?" Zhuowen smiled faintly. "Haha, you were the one who opened the door to the treasury. You should have gone in first. They are ungrateful, but that doesn't mean that I am." The snake-faced man chuckled. Zhuowen looked deeply at the snake-faced man and said, "You are very smart. Follow behind me. I won't let you suffer a loss." With that, Zhuowen led Purple Star Sovereign and the snake-faced man into the tunnel. As for the other foreign races, basically all of them had entered the tunnel. Zhuowen and the other 2 were the last to enter the tunnel. Not long after entering the tunnel, they heard screams coming from ahead. When they arrived, they found many foreign race corpses lying in the tunnel. These foreign race corpses were covered with densely packed black insects. These black insects were very strange. They went in and out of the foreign race's forehead but did not leave any wounds on the foreign race's body. These are soul-devouring insects. Terrifying creatures that specialize in devouring divine souls. There are so many of them in here. The snake-faced man's pupils constricted as he spoke with trepidation. The soul-devouring insects on the foreign race corpses also discovered Zhuowen and the others. With a whoosh, they turned into a black cloud and swept towards them. Purple Star Sovereign snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. Black flames surged out like a tide and enveloped the swarm of soul-devouring insects. The undying bird's black flames were extremely terrifying. These soul-devouring insects could not last long under the black flames. They were melted into ashes by the terrifying heat. Next, the three of them continued walking and found that the number of soul-devouring insects in the tunnel increased. Of course, the number of foreign races that died under the soul-devouring insects also increased. The snake-faced man was frightened. He finally understood why Zhuowen was not in a hurry to enter the tunnel. Zhuowen probably knew in advance that there were dangers in the tunnel, so he was not afraid that the foreign races would beat him to it. However, the snake-faced man thought about it and understood. The Phoenix people's treasury was such a precious place. If they entered it so easily, wouldn't the Phoenix people be brainless? Chapter 3303. The crack. Soon, the three of them arrived at the deepest part of the tunnel. At the deepest part of the tunnel was a black gold door. In front of the black gold door, there were a few foreign races. Zhuowen also noticed that Suo Ingda and the other 6 Skyreach masters had suffered heavy injuries. Suo Ingda was in a more miserable state. His right arm was crushed, his clothes were tattered, and his aura was very weak. The foreign races guarding the black gold door were overjoyed when they saw Zhuowen and the others. But soon, they realized something. Their eyes flickered, and they were somewhat ashamed. They did not dare to look at Zhuowen. Grandmaster Zhuo, there is a very powerful restriction on this black gold gate. This restriction is too strong. We can't break it. We hope that Grandmaster Zhuo can help us open the black gold gate. Suo Ingda said respectfully. Sure, but I have a condition for opening the black gold door. Everyone has the right to fight for the treasures in this treasury, but there is one thing that I, Zhuowen, have reserve. You can't fight for it, Zhuowen said. Master Zhuo, please say it. As long as Master Zhuo needs it, we will definitely not take it, Suo Ingda hurriedly said. There should be 3 Huyi's divine arrows in this treasury. I need them, so I hope everyone can let me have them, Zhuowen said politely. Haha. Since Master Zhuo needs it, we will definitely not touch it. Whoever dares to touch Master Zhuo's things, I will fight with my life. The rest of the foreign races echoed. Zhuowen looked at these foreign races and sneered in his heart. He knew very well that once he opened the black gold door, these foreign races would not care whether he had reserved the Huyi's divine arrows or not. They would definitely snatch whatever they saw. However, he had already said that if someone was blind enough to snatch the Huyi's divine arrows, he would have a reason to attack. After all, these foreign races were not his own subordinates. They were just a motley crew that had been gathered at the last minute. If they had not caught the Phoenix people off guard, they would not have been able to defeat the Phoenix people so easily. Moreover, the main force attacking the Phoenix people's main city this time was mainly him and the Purple Star Monarch. The other foreign races like Suo Ingda didn't contribute much. Therefore, Zhuowen didn't treat these foreign races who only cared about benefits and didn't contribute much. With these thoughts in mind, Zhuowen's gaze was calm as he swept towards the black gold door. With a wave of his sleeve, beast bone array discs were summoned one after another. The restriction on the black gold gate was much stronger than the bronze gate. It was actually a heaven-reaching formation restriction. Zhuowen spent several hours before he finally broke through the restriction on the surface of the black gold door. Creak. After the restriction was broken, the black gold door opened. Suo Ingda and the other outsiders burst into an uproar. Ignoring Zhuowen, they rushed into the cave with their movement techniques. Zhuowen instructed the Purple Star Monarch, then rushed into the black gold door as well. At the same time, he used his divine ability, Torch Dragon's Eye. Everything inside the black gold door was within his eyes. After using the torch dragon's eye to see through the black gold door's treasury, Zhuowen sucked in a breath of air. There were simply too many things inside the treasury. Among them, there were piles of high-grade herbs and materials. In addition, there were also piles of heavenly Tao origin crystals scattered in every corner of the treasury. Zhuowen was extremely fast. The moment he passed by these herbs and materials, he unceremoniously stored them into his great world. The other foreign races also went crazy. As long as they saw something, they unceremoniously stored it in their storage rings. While collecting things, Zhuowen scanned the entire treasury with his torch dragon's eye. He knew the treasury like the back of his hand. He also discovered a very inconspicuous secret compartment in the deepest part of the treasury. If not for the torch dragon's eye, he really wouldn't have noticed this secret compartment. Apart from this secret compartment, he didn't find any Huyi divine arrows in the treasury. Instead, he found many high-grade divine tools. Zhuowen wasn't in a hurry to go deeper. The treasury was very large, and the resources inside were very dense. He planned to rob all of them first, then open the secret compartment. Zhuowen's collecting speed was simply too fast. To put it bluntly, 50% of the resources in the treasury had been taken away by Zhuowen. Purple Star Monarch wasn't slow either. He collected 30% of the resources in the treasury. The remaining 20% was fought over by the other races. Of course, most of the remaining resources were divided by Suo Ingda and the other sky-reaching masters. Grandmaster Zhuo, this attack on the Phoenix people is due to all of us. There are indeed a lot of resources in the treasury, but most of them have flowed into your pockets. Don't you think you should? Suo Ingda's eyes flashed as he looked at Zhuowen with a burning gaze. The corners of Zhuowen's mouth curled up. You mean to say that you want me to hand over the resources I obtained and split them equally with you? Suo Ingda smiled and nodded. The other races also revealed looks of desire. Zhuowen had obtained far too many resources. They couldn't help but feel that it was unfair. At this moment, they actually wanted to force Zhuowen to hand over the resources he had. If you have the ability, you can snatch them from me. As long as you can snatch them, everything I have will be yours, Zhuowen said calmly. Suo Ingda's expression became a little awkward. He knew what Zhuowen meant. He didn't intend to hand over the resources he had on him. They also didn't dare to challenge Zhuowen's authority. After all, the former was very powerful and had a terrifying expert like Purple Star Monarch by his side. If they went against Zhuowen, wouldn't they be courting death? Haha, how would we dare to offend Grandmaster Zhuo? Since that's the case, we won't force you. We plan to leave. We hope that Grandmaster Zhuo can break the array around the Phoenix people's main city. Suo Ingda smiled. These are array flags. With these array flags, the array will naturally be ineffective against you. You can leave the array smoothly. Zhuowen threw out some array flags and handed them to Suo Ingda and the others. Suo Ingda and the other races received the array flags and cupped their fists at Zhuowen before leaving the treasury. This group of foreign races is very unreliable. They're not united at all. They only know how to take and don't know how to give. Brother Zhuo, you released them from the Phoenix Purgatory and even helped them break through. This is already a great favor. Just now, Suo Ingda still had the nerve to ask you to hand over the resources. Purple Star Monarch frowned. They're not my subordinates. They're just a mob that was temporarily gathered. I didn't ask them to listen to my orders. Zhuowen shook his head and smiled. He walked towards a secret compartment in the depths and opened it. Soon after, he found 3 blood-stained divine arrows in the secret compartment. They were the Huyi divine arrows that he was looking for. After putting away the arrows, Zhuowen looked at Purple Star Monarch and said, Brother Purple Star, after this, I plan to participate in the Sorcerer Tribe's Sorcerer Song Conference. What are your plans? Purple Star Monarch smiled bitterly and said, I've received the inheritance of the Phoenix and have the bloodline of the Phoenix. Theoretically speaking, I'm no longer a human. The current me can't return to the human race in the Shen Mi heavenly domain. I plan to stay in the Eldritch heavenly domain. If possible, I plan to form my own force in the Eldritch heavenly domain. I'm afraid that's very difficult. The forces in the eldritch heavenly domain are based on the bloodline of each race. If you're not of the same race, it's very difficult to unite. Brother Purple Star Monarch, why don't you come with me first? I know a good place that's suitable for you and me, Zhuowen said. Zhuowen thought of the heaven-accessing secret land. The Black King had told him that any expert with a heaven-accessing master was qualified to enter the heaven-accessing secret land. Chapter 3304. Betrayal. Crepe Myrtle Star nodded and said with a bitter smile, "It seems that I can only follow you for now. Let's leave this place first. I'm afraid that the Phoenix Master will be back soon. We'd better leave this place before the Phoenix Master returns. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome," Zhuowen said as he led Crepe Myrtle Star out of the tunnel. However, when he walked out of the entrance, he found that the snake-faced man was waiting for them outside. Zhuowen also noticed that the snake-faced man's face was full of panic. When the snake-faced man saw Zhuowen come out, he heaved a sigh of relief. "What's wrong?" Zhuowen asked with a frown. "Master Zhuo, the Phoenix people's main city has been surrounded. Suo Ingdar and the others have collectively defected to the Phoenix people and are planning to crusade against you," the snake-faced man said anxiously. Suo Ingdar has defected? Zhuowen's pupils constricted as he found it unbelievable. Suo Ingdar and the others had obtained a lot of benefits from the Phoenix people and were once captured by the Phoenix people into the Phoenix Purgatory. He did not believe that Suo Ingdar and the others would change sides so easily. In his opinion, Suo Ingdar and the others should have fled far away with the benefits they had obtained. That's not it. The Phoenix Master, Feng Leluor, has returned. Suo Ingdar and the others had just left the main city of the Phoenix people when they were captured by the Phoenix Master. In order to survive, Suo Ingdar and the others collectively defected to the Phoenix people. They even tried to defame you, Master Zhuo, and put all the blame on you. The snake-faced man sighed. Zhuowen nodded. While the snake-faced man was speaking, he used the torch dragon's eye and saw a godlike figure floating quietly in front of the countless subordinate races' armies outside the main city. This figure was the Phoenix Master, Feng Leluor. At Feng Leluor's feet were Suo Ingdar and the other 7 Skyreach experts who had just left the main city. Zhuowen could clearly see the flattering smiles on Suo Ingdar and the others' faces. Zhuowen frowned slightly. He was a little surprised that Feng Leluor was so fast. She had actually rushed back so quickly. Whoosh, whoosh. While Zhuowen was lost in thought, Feng Leluor led Suo Ingdar and the other heaven-reaching sovereign experts through the formation outside and into the main city. Zhuowen looked at the array flag in Feng Leluor's hand and knew why she could enter the array so easily. "Are you Zhuowen?" Feng Leluor looked down at Zhuowen from high above. Her eyes were filled with suppressed anger and coldness. Zhuowen did not pay attention to Feng Leluor. Instead, he looked at Suo Ingdar and the others and said indifferently, "I refined divine pills to raise your cultivation and brought you out of the undying bird purgatory. I also let you obtain many resources from the Phoenix people's treasury. I thought that all of you would know how to be grateful for what I've done, but now, I realize that I was wrong. You guys are a bunch of people who bite the hand that feeds you." Suo Ingdar did not avoid Zhuowen's gaze and said mockingly, "Zhuowen, don't put on an act. What you did was only for yourself. You only wanted to use us to fight for you against the Phoenix people, and the resources in the Phoenix people's treasury were all snatched away by you. We didn't get anything at all. Now, you have the nerve to say that you let us obtain many resources from the treasury. How can you have the face to say such words?" The snake-faced man was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. He almost cursed back. Unfortunately, Zhuowen stopped him. "Oh, so that's what you're thinking. That's just as well. Now that you and I are enemies, I will never show mercy to my enemies," Zhuowen said. The killing intent in his eyes was so terrifying that it seemed to have materialized. "Hehe, me too." Suo Ingdar sneered and immediately said to Feng Leluor beside him, "Lord Phoenix Master, in order to show my loyalty, I am willing to take action for you. I will take down this traitor and let you deal with him." Suo Ingda had never seen Zhuowen truly fight, so he always thought that Zhuowen's strength was not much. The reason why Crepe Myrtle Star followed Zhuowen was mainly because of Zhuowen's superb alchemy and formation skills. Therefore, Suo Ingda had never placed Zhuowen in his eyes. Suo Ingda even somewhat despised Zhuowen. In every battle, he basically relied on Crepe Myrtle Star and them. In his heart, he still somewhat looked down on Zhuowen. Go ahead. With your strength, you should be able to kill this child. As for Crepe Myrtle Star, since he killed 2 of the Phoenix people's mysterious flame protectors, then he will pay for it with his life. Feng Leluo also did not pay much attention to Zhuowen. Although Zhuowen had killed a sky-piercing master expert, he was at most an early-stage sky-piercing master expert. In Feng Leluo's opinion, a mid-stage sky-piercing master expert like Suo Ingda was enough to get rid of Zhuowen. At this moment, Feng Leluo's attention was basically focused on Crepe Myrtle Star. The killing intent in her eyes grew stronger and stronger. Lord Phoenix Master, don't worry. I won't let you down. Suo Ingda chuckled and stomped his right foot. Like a meteor, he fell towards Zhuowen. Crepe Myrtle Star blocked in front of Zhuowen and went up to meet him. However, the moment Crepe Myrtle Star attacked, an extremely terrifying pressure crushed down on his body, causing him to feel an unprecedented pressure. Therefore, a terrifying energy suddenly blasted over, causing him to feel a sense of crisis in the face of life and death. Crepe Myrtle Star clenched his right hand into a fist and suddenly punched out. Black flames shot out, forming waves of black flames that whistled out. Bang! Crepe Myrtle Star's attack collided with that energy. He groaned and was directly sent flying. He barely stabilized his body hundreds of meters away. Only then did he see clearly that the owner of that energy was Feng Leluo. At this moment, Feng Leluo and Crepe Myrtle Star were facing each other from a distance. She looked at Crepe Myrtle Star in surprise and said, "It's the energy of the undying bird. It seems that you have obtained the inheritance of the undying bird. No wonder you were willing to enter the undying bird's purgatory. So your purpose was not pure. But this is also good. After I capture you alive, I will personally extract the inheritance of the undying bird from your body and use it for myself." Feng Leluo smiled faintly. She stomped her right foot and instantly disappeared. When she reappeared, she was already in front of Crepe Myrtle Star. Crepe Myrtle Star's eyes were solemn. He felt a great pressure. Feng Leluo's strength was too terrifying. She was definitely not an ordinary late-stage sky-reaching master. Bang! 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 Crepe Myrtle Star's body was burning with black flames, while Feng Leluo was spitting out fiery red flames. The 2 flame-like figures kept colliding in mid-air. Terrifying energy ripples spread out as if the end of the world was coming. Chapter 3305. A battle between the strong Zhuowen. Do you know why I changed sides so easily? It's mainly because of your insatiable greed. If you had shared all the resources with us when we were in the treasury, we wouldn't have betrayed you. Do you regret it now? But it's useless even if you regret it. Today, you will die at my hands. Suo Ingda's broadsword fiercely slashed down, and a sinister voice followed. He wanted to see Zhuowen's regretful expression, and then die with hatred. However, it was a pity that Zhuowen's gaze was very calm. He stood where he was as black fog surged out from him. Within the black mist, a scroll appeared, blocking in front of Suo Ingda's broadsword. Bang! This scroll was very hard. Suo Ingda's full force slash was actually unable to cut the scroll in half. Immediately after, Suo Ingda was stunned to find that the scroll quickly opened, and dozens of pitch-black chains emerged from it, surrounding him in all directions. They suddenly contracted and tied him up. Suo Ingda coldly snorted. He felt that these chains were just a small trick, and did not care at all. He suddenly raised the broadsword in his hand, and densely packed blade shadows spread out like a storm, standing on top of the chains. Unfortunately, these chains were too hard. The blade shadows had no effect on these chains at all. Instead, after being stimulated, they quickly contracted and tightly bound Suo Ingda. The moment he touched the chains, Suo Ingda involuntarily screamed. The intense pain that penetrated deep into his spirit made him feel as if he was better off dead. The moment he was absent-minded, the chains wrapped around his body like ivy. His entire body was tightly bound like a dumpling. An even more intense pain directly entered Suo Ingda's spirit, causing him to scream again and again. The moment Suo Ingda was bound, he opened the second layer of the Yama ghost diagram. 4 malevolent demons and monsters were released, turning into 4 black shadows that rushed towards Suo Ingda. "What are you still standing there for? Come and help me get rid of this Juoan." The moment Suo Ingda saw the 4 demons and monsters, he immediately had a bad feeling and hurriedly shouted to his 6 companions. These 6 outsiders had been trapped in the undying bird purgatory, and had only reached their current level of cultivation after receiving Zhuowen's divine pills. At that moment, they had all defected to Feng Leluo's side. They knew very well that if they did not kill Zhuowen, he would definitely kill them in the future. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 6 non-humankind beings transformed into 6 streams of light and blocked the way of those monsters. Unfortunately, the Kai Mai and Wang Liang were simply too powerful. 2 of the evil spirits easily took care of 4 of the early transcending heaven lords. As for the other 2 mid-10th heaven master foreign beings, they weren't immediately taken care of, but they were easily suppressed by the 2 wraiths in front of them, so it was only a matter of time before they were defeated. Suo Ingda's pupils shrank. He knew that he had to save himself. Otherwise, he would really die here. Suo Ingda's blood and chi surged, and his aura soared. The chains on his body exploded. Suo Ingda broke free from the broken chains and did not help his 2 remaining companions. Instead, he quickly fled. In the previous exchange, Suo Ingda had a clear understanding of how terrifying Zhuowen's strength was. If he continued to tangle with Zhuowen, he would most likely be defeated. Therefore, Suo Ingda retreated. Unfortunately, Suo Ingda wanted to escape, but Zhuowen was not prepared to let him go. With a thought, the other 2 wraiths quickly caught up to Suo Ingda and completely entangled him. The 4 wraiths were all mid-10th heaven masters, and not ordinary mid-10th heaven masters. Although Suo Ingda was a peak mid-10th heaven master, 2 wraiths were more than enough to entangle him. When Zhuowen saw that the 4 wraiths had already entangled Suo Ingda and the other 2 foreign beings, he no longer paid attention to them. Instead, he focused on the battle between Plape Myrtle Star and Feng Leluo. The battle between Plape Myrtle Star and Feng Leluo was becoming more and more terrifying. The entire sky above the Phoenix People's main city was enveloped by the 2's flame energy, forming 2 different colored seas of fire. However, the 2 seas of fire were clearly separated, as if they were on equal footing. However, if one looked carefully, the Black Sea of Fire was vaguely being suppressed by the Red Sea of Fire. Between the 2 seas of fire, 2 figures that looked like gods and devils were constantly fighting. These 2 figures were naturally Plape Myrtle Star and Feng Leluo. Zhuowen's eyes were filled with worry. Plape Myrtle Star had just become a late 10th heaven master, and the gap between him and a veteran late 10th heaven master like Feng Leluo was not small. He could see that Plape Myrtle Star had many injuries on his body, and they were not light. However, Plape Myrtle Star was still holding on. Haha. Plape Myrtle Star, your strength is not bad. If I'm not wrong, you should have just become a late 10th heaven master not long ago. To be able to fight with me to this extent, you're not bad. Unfortunately, you've become an enemy of me and the entire Phoenix people. That's just courting death. Feng Leluo placed her hands behind her back and stepped on the endless Red Sea of Fire. With a disdainful look, she coldly looked at Plape Myrtle Star, whose mouth was bleeding. Plape Myrtle Star, I'll give you a chance to live. Take the initiative to hand over the undying bird's inheritance to me, and I'll spare your lowly life. Feng Leluo said confidently. Haha, you're dreaming. Feng Leluo, you're indeed stronger than me, but it won't be that easy for you to take me down. Also, you forgot that you're not facing me alone. Plape Myrtle Star said mockingly. Feng Leluo sneered and said, Are you talking about Zhuowen? I'm really sorry. Other than Zhuowen's talent in the Tao of Formations, how strong could he be in terms of combat? I'm afraid he's already been dealt with by Suo Ingda and the others. When Feng Leluo spoke up to this point, he suddenly stopped. When his divine consciousness casually swept over Zhuo Wen's side, he discovered that 4 of the 7 foreign races that had besieged Zhuo Wen had already fallen. The other 3, including Suo Ingda, were entangled by 4 evil spirits with terrifying auras. Moreover, they were in a precarious situation. This guy, Feng Leluo, was shocked. She originally thought that Zhuo Wen would be easily dealt with by Suo Ingda and the others. But now, she saw that things were going against her wishes. What bullshit, Phoenix Master? Today, I'll kill you too. At this moment, Zhuo Wen's voice was heard, causing Feng Leluo to fly into a rage. Feng Leluo looked at Zhuo Wen and saw Zhuo Wen standing in the ruins. Zhuo Wen raised his head proudly and fearlessly looked at her face to face. His eyes were filled with coldness and mockery. Feng Leluo felt very uncomfortable with Zhuo Wen's gaze. She suddenly slapped her right hand, and an endless sea of fire formed a giant palm that blasted towards Zhuo Wen below. Plape Myrtle Star wanted to stop her, but he was firmly locked onto by Feng Leluo's aura. As long as Plape Myrtle Star dared to move, Feng Leluo would definitely attack. This put Plape Myrtle Star in a dilemma. This Zhuo Wen has some skills, but in front of absolute power, he's like a piece of paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Feng Leluo mocked. Chapter 3306. 4 arrows shot together. The instant the flaming hand was destroyed, Feng Leluo could not help but frown. He felt rather surprised. He had never thought that Zhuo Wen would be able to break through his attack. But very soon, Feng Leluo sensed that something was off. However, after the flaming hand was destroyed, an arrow shot towards him like a bolt of lightning. The aura that the arrow gave off was just too terrifying. Even Feng Leluo's expression changed slightly. Feng Leluo's gaze became stern. He waved his sleeve, and the sea of fire in the surroundings suddenly surged with terrifying waves, enveloping the arrow. However, to Feng Leluo's surprise, the arrow displayed extremely great penetrative power. It instantly pierced through the waves and arrived before him. Feng Leluo threw a punch with his right hand. It contained terrifying flame energy. Bang! Feng Leluo's eyes narrowed. His right hand had actually been pierced by the arrow, causing blood to spurt out. However, with Feng Leluo's powerful strength, she managed to completely stop that powerful arrow. Hu Yi's godly arrow? Feng Leluo's right hand was covered in blood. He grabbed the arrow with his left hand and immediately recognized the arrow that had attacked him. Was it not Hu Yi's godly arrow? However, there were no bloodstains on the surface of the arrow. Instead, it was as clean as a new arrow. Brother Ziwei, do it now. Zhuo Wen stood above the ruins. He held Hu Yi's godly arrow and roared at Ziwei Star Lord. The instant Feng Leluo caught the arrow with his bare hands, Zhuo Wen knew that Feng Leluo was terrifying. He was not someone that ordinary late sky-reaching lord could compare to. Ziwei Star Lord also reacted. He stomped his right foot, and boundless black flames surged. They formed a huge undying bird that blotted out the sky and smashed towards Feng Leluo. After blocking Hu Yi's godly arrow, Feng Leluo originally wanted to deal a vicious blow to Zhuo Wen. However, Ziwei Star Lord interfered and held him back. Piss off. Feng Leluo and Ziwei Star Lord collided fiercely, forcing Ziwei Star Lord back. However, Purple Star Sovereign was extremely stubborn. He kept standing in front of Feng Leluo. Although his injuries were getting worse, it was still not enough for Feng Leluo to kill him. Moreover, Feng Leluo was careless just now and was injured by Hu Yi's divine arrow, causing her strength to drop. Although it did not decrease by much, to the Purple Myrtle Star Monarch, it was a bit easier than when he fought against Feng Leluo. This Feng Leluo is definitely not an ordinary late-stage sky-reaching master. If you want to injure her, you must draw the Hu Yi godly bow to the fullest. Unleash the full potential of the Hu Yi godly bow. Zhuo Wen looked at the Hu Yi divine bow in his hand. Back when he was in the Phoenix Purgatory, he could only draw the Hu Yi divine bow to 3/4 of its original length. However, he knew that if he went all out, he would be able to draw the Hu Yi divine bow to a full moon. However, The price he had to pay would be great. He would definitely be seriously injured. However, he didn't have the time to think about this. He had to severely injure the Phoenix Master. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to leave the Phoenix people's main city area alive. Zhuowen took out the best healing pills he had and put them into his mouth one by one, just in case he needed them. After finishing his preparations, Zhuowen took out a Huyi godly arrow, put it on the bowstring, and pulled it. In just an instant, he pulled the bowstring to 3/4 of its original length. The terrifying resistance acted on Zhuowen's arms, causing the muscles on his arms to tighten and the veins to burst open. Zhuowen roared and pulled the bowstring to a full moon. Then, he aimed at Feng Leluo and released the bowstring. Whoosh! A series of thunderous booms rang out. Then, a terrifying storm swept through the area. A huge crater appeared where Zhuowen was standing, and he was standing in the middle of the crater. Poochie! At the same time, the bulging veins on Zhuowen's arms burst. Blood splashed out, and his arms drooped down powerlessly. His arms were severely injured. Even with his Pangu sacred body, it would take him a long time to recover. However, Zhuowen knew that he didn't have much time to recover. He immediately swallowed the healing pills in his mouth. The powerful medicinal power spread throughout his body. Zhuowen guided the medicinal power to his arms and chest, healing his broken meridians and bones. When he could feel his arms again, Zhuowen immediately took out a pile of healing pills from the macro world and put them into his mouth. He took out another Huyi godly arrow and pulled the bowstring to a full moon. At the cost of being severely injured, he shot out the arrow. Zhuowen shot out a total of 4 Huyi godly arrows. All 4 of them were in their complete states. They were many times more powerful than the 3 incomplete ones he got from the Phoenix people's treasury. Boom! The first Huyi godly arrow was extremely fast. Wherever it passed, it made an ear-piercing sound of thunder as it rushed toward Feng Leluo. Feng Leluo was firmly suppressing Crepe Myrtle Star. However, he wasn't in a good mood. His right arm, which was injured by the Huyi godly arrow, was recovering with difficulty. It was difficult for experts at Feng Leluo's level to be injured. Once they were injured, the amount of energy they needed to recover was much more than those with lower cultivation. Moreover, it was a terrifying divine weapon like the Huyi godly arrow that injured him. His recovery was even slower. It was because his right arm was injured that he couldn't use his full strength. According to his current situation, he could completely take down Crepe Myrtle Star if he used his full strength. However, he still couldn't take down Crepe Myrtle Star. This made Feng Leluo a little anxious. When Feng Leluo punched Crepe Myrtle Star and planned to chase after him, a terrifying and familiar energy fluctuation came from below. Feng Leluo immediately saw the Huyi godly arrow coming from below. Damn it! This guy shot out a second Huyi godly arrow? Feng Leluo was both shocked and furious. He stomped with his right foot, and the terrifying flames around him whistled out, blocking the Huyi godly arrow. After suffering a loss once, Feng Leluo naturally learned his lesson. He didn't dare to face the Huyi godly arrow head-on. Boom! Unfortunately, the terrifying sea of flames immediately dispersed upon contact with the Huyi godly arrow. It dispersed so quickly that even Feng Leluo found it unbelievable. Under Feng Leluo's shocked gaze, the Huyi godly arrow arrived before him in an instant. Feng Leluo instinctively used his remaining left hand to block. There were fiery red patterns on his left palm that condensed terrifying energy. Without a doubt, Feng Leluo's left hand was much more powerful than his right hand. His right hand didn't have such patterns at all. Terrifying flames suddenly erupted from the patterns on Feng Leluo's left palm. They formed the illusion of a phoenix and shot towards the Huyi godly arrow. The terrifying and scorching illusion of a phoenix blocked the Huyi godly arrow, causing it to stop several meters away from Feng Leluo's left palm. However, very soon, Feng Leluo discovered that something was wrong. He heard the sound of another arrow being released from below. Then, a second Huyi godly arrow shot over and struck the tail of the first Huyi godly arrow. Poochie! The powerful force caused Feng Leluo to involuntarily spit out a mouthful of blood. His face paled. However, very soon, Feng Leluor discovered to his horror that another sound of another arrow being released from below. Then, a third Huyi godly arrow shot over. He spat out a mouthful of blood and continuously retreated. His entire body trembled. He was almost unable to hold on. The power of 3 Huyi godly arrows was too terrifying. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.